So I remember I got my driver's license 7 days after my birthday. The Bon Jovi tickets were going up for sale, and we went at midnight the next day after I had my driver's license. One day, we went up to the Richfield Coliseum and waited for the box office, waited in line, get the key. We got the tickets. That night, I was doing donuts in a parking lot, smacked the curb, folded the suspension under it, and told him had to junk the car. Literally had my license one day.
Welcome to Oil and Whiskey, an Ironclad original. I am Josh Henning.
I'm Phil Gerber.
I'm Jeremy Gerber.
Welcome to Oil and Whiskey, an Ironclad original. You remember, watch the full episodes on our new Oil and Whiskey YouTube page. It's brand new. It's got, what does it have on it? It's got all the episodes.
Yeah, the episodes.
Right.
The thing you're hearing, there's a visual to go along with it.
Yeah, you can actually see it. Boris Maryanovsky is the owner of Street Machinery out of Cleveland, Ohio. For over 30 years, Street Machinery has turned out 50s and 60s Survivor cruisers and Patina rods and trucks. The shop buys and sells vintage and project vehicles and provides turnkey build services. You can learn more about Street Machinery at streetmachinery.com and at Street Machinery on Instagram. Glenn Grozich is a founder of Billet Specialties out of Grange, Illinois. Since 1985, that's a long time ago.
Long time.
You weren't even born yet, were you?
2 years old.
Billet Specialties
Wow.
has provided industry-leading wheels, steering wheels, interior and exterior accessories, hardware and engine accessories. You can learn more about Billet Specialties at billetspecialties.com and at Billet Specialties on Instagram. Long time coming. Boris and Glenn, welcome to Oil and Whiskey. A twofer today.
Yep.
Yep. Well, we're glad to be here because can't wait to hear everything you got to talk about.
Well, we got two.
And I got double the years on you, so I got a lot to talk about.
We got two titans of the industry.
Yeah, this one.
And this is,
we're halfway through season 2, and good grief, you're literally 40 minutes away. And
Well, maybe I'll get invited back if I do a good job tonight.
40 minutes, 2.5 hours in traffic.
we're close
rush hour.
friends, and we're close, like, physically, and just could not make this happen.
Yeah.
Busy
I'm sure he's going to come back after you just rub it in.
Yeah,
It's
after you
hard.
just guilted him.
Oh, I'll definitely come back.
So what's been going on, guys?
Just working.
Working?
Same old stuff, trying to meet customers' demands. Can't make stuff fast enough. Same
Have
old
no
stuff.
idea what
You guys
it's like.
built it wrong. No, we built it to what you ordered, but no, we built it wrong. You measured it wrong.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff, but no, a lot of good stuff happening. Industry seems to be strong. Business is solid. Can't complain. I'm sure, like everybody, we need more help. Everybody needs more people today. It's hard to find, but overall, lead times have come way back in, and things are looking good. So we're happy.
Good. Sweet. Good, man. Well, Boris, and there isn't a car out there that hasn't passed through your hands. So there's not, if you're in the automotive industry or that, you own something that Boris has touched or owns. We don't need to embellish much about Boris, but Glenn, on the other hand, Glenn, I've been a long time admirer of yours, the way that you operate your business in general, man. When we were out to kind of take a tour of your place, that's probably, I've been on all these road tours. I've been through all kinds of shops. That's probably the number one most impressive and stressful looking businesses that I've seen. Because when I walk through, I realize I'm like, holy shit, we've got it easy. Because Glenn has lots of little things he makes and tons of it.
Yeah, I appreciate the compliment, but I think you guys have a hell of an operation up here, and I think you're probably approaching the same level of components that you need to make up here to produce your product line.
Yeah, we're making more and more stuff.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Good stuff. I think for any of us, the most important thing about our businesses is to always uphold the quality of the product and try and deliver the best product you can deliver. And Billet Specialties products definitely are not cheap, but we're trying to give you the best value for your money. We will never be the cheapest wheel or the cheapest front drive system or whatever, but there's a lot of engineering work that goes into product just as well as your products, and you know what that takes to produce.
Oh, absolutely.
And that time sometimes is a long payback on a product line that you're building before you see any positive cash flow out of it. But it's been a lifelong dream of mine to do what I've done with Billet Specialties, and hopefully I'll keep doing it. I do enjoy it. I enjoy the industry. I enjoy the people. So I don't see me walking away anytime soon.
That's good, man. To be doing it as long as you, and to be like kicking ass as long as you've been, and still, I would think your age, I feel like I'm going to run out of steam. But every time I talk to you, you are just
It's
raring to go.
I have a lot of people that have come up to me over the years, and I'll be like, "You still carry a ton of enthusiasm."
Yeah.
When people come into my shop, I still get fired up every day about doing a new wheel or doing something. I'm the last guy that walks out of my shop every night, and everybody, I can pretty much guarantee you, leaves 2.5 to 3 hours before I leave. And they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm always looking at stuff. I'm always thinking. I'm always walking the shop floor." Everybody thinks I don't know what's going on. I go, "Hey guys, let me tell you something. When you're all gone, I walk this floor. I know exactly what's going on. Okay. Yeah. And if I come in at 8:00 in the morning and that pile was there at 7:00 last night, and this pile only grew this much, guess what? What have you been doing for the last 2.5 hours or whatever you've been here?" Okay. It's just passion, and I've always liked it. Obviously, I got a lot of cars. I never got any time to drive them, but I guess I just like looking at them.
When you're walking through the shop in the evening and lights are probably dimmed, everybody's gone, I'm sure the machines are still running because you're running lights out.
Some of them, a few of them.
What's the feeling? Do you ever stop and say, like, look around and like, holy shit, this is pretty cool. Like,
Yeah.
I've built quite an amazing business here. Are you able to push through the stress and all the crap that goes on through today to have like a moment of clarity? You're like, it's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, you walk the floor, it's silent. You got just night lights on burning, and some of the horizontal machining centers are running and whatnot. And you look out there. A guy was there a week ago, and he says to me, "How many CNC machines do you have?" And I said, 45. He's like, 45? I said, yeah. But last year we put in 2 big robotic polishers, and they're pretty amazing to watch.
Yeah.
And it was a big step. I pushed it off for a while. I didn't want to do it. And I said, "Man, you got to do it because you can't hire people. You just cannot fulfill those positions."
How much PTO do you start those robots off with when they come in?
Big old 0, Josh. And they
don't accrue any either.
and they will work when it's 100 degrees or 20 degrees, and they show up every day.
Even on Mondays?
Yeah, even on Mondays. It's amazing. And you watch that robot move around, and it just keeps cranking away, man, and the one thing about it is every part comes out the same.
That's wild.
Well,
we got AI now, so those robots are going to start coming to self-aware.
Oh, yeah.
I think I was at your place right before you did that. I remember
think
seeing
so.
them. I mean, even back when it was done manually, it was still, that's quite an impressive operation, but man, labor and intensive.
We're doing those D-shaped steering wheels, and I should send you guys a video clip of it doing it. But because those wheels are completely surfaced, there's no real turning operation on that because it's not round, obviously.
Sure.
So you got tool marks and stuff you got to get out, and that was a rough thing to get through the polishing shop when you're selling a lot of them. But man, now you just keep cranking them. They're just running through. So it's really started to pay off. We put them in. They were delivered a year ago in July. The first 3 months you're not doing anything with them. You're learning, putting the stuff together, making fixturing. But after the first year, you could start to see the rewards by putting them in, and I'm sure we'll end up purchasing another one. But now we're out of room. We're running out of room quick, man.
Yeah.
I've got rim shells stacked to the ceiling and every. It's out of. It's out of. I need
Send
it.
some up to Boris. You don't have it. You got some.
That's what we did today. Pile of wheels. He goes, "You want to take this?" I got 3 chassis on a trailer. I can't take them.
He walked in. I said, "I got a deal for you, man. You see all these skids right here? I'm sending all that stuff to you, man. I know you can get rid of it." But what we really need right now is probably a 25,000-foot warehouse to fill with wheels. We're just out of room. But that's the next thing.
Seeing just the barrels that you had in stock.
Yeah.
That was mind-blowing, which it also seemed like you were probably the only wheel manufacturer out there that wasn't crying the blues during COVID
Yeah.
because you were cranking wheels while everybody else was letting their customers know, well, I can't get hoops, can't get barrels.
We stock probably on the average, and everybody might think I'm crazy, but we probably stock 11,000 hoops in our building.
Whoa.
Damn.
So, yeah, we're not going to run out.
They take up fucking space, too.
Yeah, they do. A lot of room. And they're all polished. They're all done. They're all sitting there ready to go.
Before we get too carried away, we gotta need the origin stories of both. So, whoever wants to go first. Where did the
I want to
start?
well, wait a minute. I got a story I want to talk to you about Boris.
Let's go.
How I met him, right?
Okay.
So we're at the Indy, good guys, I believe, at the Adams Mark Hotel, right? Boris is out in the parking lot.
We had a mutual friend too. Gary Case was
Yes.
a very good, close personal friend of both of ours, but we didn't know each other.
Didn't know him. So I think it was a 61 Chevy.
Yeah, I bought it that morning. I chased the guy in. He was pulling
So-
in with the for sale sign in the
Yeah.
quarter window. I stopped him and bought it.
So he's got a set of SLD 89 wheels of ours on this car, right?
I had drove a 61 there, and I sold it to the grill guy, who Kurt Cunningham's
Cunningham.
buddy. Kurt Cunningham's buddy, who was not at the show, wanted the car that I drove. So I bought an identical car, but it had steel wheels. So I'm out in the parking lot swapping wheels because Kurt's buddy wanted steel wheels on his car. So Glenn's like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, he's got a bumper jack, okay? A fucking bumper jack with the tire iron in it, jacking it up, right? I'm like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, I'm taking the wheels off. I go, for what? He goes, hey, man, I got to put them on the next car. I go, no, you don't. He said, we can get you all them you want. That was it. That's what started it all. So it was kind of ironic, yeah. He's out there, man. It's midnight. He's cranking on the bumper jack. What the fuck are you doing, man?
Thought he was stealing the wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was buying my wheels at the time from Lobeck, and Lobeck probably was the only customer that was buying 18s and 20s. And
That were probably
in
the only
late
wheels.
90s.
That might have been probably 80% of Barry's business then if you were buying them wheels.
Barry didn't talk to me for about 3 months. Then he got over it.
Yeah.
He was probably making a killing on it.
Came up to my son, York, Pennsylvania. And Junior was, I don't know, he was maybe 21 years old. And they're in the bar drinking. And Barry's telling him, you know, I like you. I want to hang around with you more. He goes, you know what they call me, right? TF Lobeck. And my son looks at me and says, what are you talking about? He goes, my name's TF Lobeck, that fucking Lobeck. He said, that's what they refer to me as. He said, but you're going to party with me every night while you're here this weekend. Well, he always talked to Glenn all the time when he see him, you know. They'd hang out. But yeah, he was a character.
Yeah, I never got like too friendly with him. I heard some stories that he was quite the fucking party animal.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I'll tell you another story, which is you know when I first started doing billet shit, he was good friends with John Butera and Rich from Mr. Gasket. Well, Little John had a line of product that was sold through Mr. Gasket that was called Little John stuff. So we're at SEMA one year, and this is when they debuted the Little John stuff. And we're standing at the bar at the Hilton, and Barry walks up to me. And Barry would have an attitude. You know, if you weren't on his good side, I mean, he had no problems telling you right how the fuck it was. So he walks up to me and he goes, what do you think of the Little John stuff? I said, yeah, I saw it. It's all right. You're not fucking worried? I go, no. You should fucking be. I go, well, I'm not. And he goes, the motherfucker's going to put you out of business. I go, get the fuck out of here, Barry, okay? So about 5 years went by, Little John stuff's gone. I walk up to Barry at SEMA. I say, hey, Barry, I didn't see the Mr. Gasket booth with Little John stuff in it. I said, what the fuck happened? You're a motherfucker. You know that? I go, no, it's just, can't. It's just business, man.
Yeah.
You know, if it's, and then, of course, you had the stories of me and Boyd. We'd get into it.
I was waiting to get into that.
Yeah, I
that
figured.
Boyd- Boyd stuff
I
we
got
gotta-
some pretty good ones
That's
there.
going to be a whole segment
Yeah,
of this
that's-
because we've
yeah.
chatted about that a little bit. I know just a little bit about that.
Yeah.
that there, and it's, you know.
So when y'all met there at Adams Mart, you were flipping cars, selling parts. Then what were you doing?
No, I started my shop in the early '90s. Right out of, I skipped, graduated high school, was working in a mechanic shop. I said I'm going to take a year off before I go to college. And I was making, my boss gave me, he doubled my pay when I graduated high school. I was making $5 an hour, and then as soon as I graduated high school, it paid me $10 an hour.
What'd you do with all that extra cash?
Yeah, well, I was working my ass off, so I was saving some money. But I did that for a few years, and then I said I wanted to go on my own, and rented a little $375 a month garage that I had to pull the car straight in, then jack it up, pull it over to the side, then I could pull another car in. And that was it. Once those 2 cars were in, I wasn't working on anything else till they were done. Did that for about 11 months, saved up enough money to get a bigger shop, and just kept growing and growing and growing. Mid-90s, I think about 96, on a power tour, I met Brett from Rytech, and I thought that air ride on his Mustang was the coolest shit. So I went home. He gave me his number. I went home, ordered all the shit, went and bought a brand new pickup truck, Chevy dealer, put it all on there. And I was like, man, this. And then people started calling me for air rides. So I ended up becoming the air ride guy while still having my mechanical shop. And then I think right around 2000, I started pulling back from doing regular cars and more hot rod work. And I think about 2003, I started getting an employee and another employee and another employee. And that's how it grew.
Fucking into the massive snowball that you've got going now.
Yeah, it's
Street
just
machinery empire.
Yeah.
it just kept growing and growing. We just kept finding, lots of stepping stones for us. The air ride was one thing. Then I was at the Good Guys, and I think 97 or 98, there was I think it was a guy from Osley Chevelle Parts. I think that's whose car it was. It was like a powder blue 55 Chevy, bone stock, dog dish hubcaps. They popped the hood and it had an LS1. Went home, started looking for a wrecked car, and I think it wasn't until 99 I bought a brand new Camaro. Had like 400 miles or 4,000, maybe not even 1,000 miles, but looked like it was hit by a train, but the drivetrain didn't get hurt at all. So I put that in a wagon and became the LS guy. Then I bought a 58 Biscayne, or might have been a Del Rey. I bought it on eBay. It's all patinaed. Pulled the chassis out, powder coated it, did the bottom, put a big block in it. Then I became the patina guy. So it was just like whatever we got into, that kind of work, that kind of product, just kept pushing it. Pretty much just kept doing whatever I liked, and it worked. Kind of like your chassis.
Yep.
Did the first one, like, oh my God, why are we even bothering taking these antiquated 50, 60-year-old chassis and bolting all this shit on when we could just buy and start working? And I pushed the product like crazy, not because I, want to make money on it. Well, I do, but I mean, it works. I believe in it. And that's why now probably half the phone calls and emails we field in a day is about chassis.
Wow.
And
Boris is the Roadster Shop chassis guy now.
Yeah.
and he's
I feel like
no,
we've
definitely.
gotten somewhere. Like
He's done a
Yeah.
fucking fantastic job at it.
I mean, you're the only stocking dealer.
Yeah, we had talked
ours.
about that a couple of years ago. I said I want to have some of these in stock, and you guys were like, we want you to have some in stock.
at first I was like, dude, you're crazy. Anytime we have like one in stock, like we can't sell it. We could sell 500 slammed airbag C10s until we build one. And like, all right, we're going to use this as a display, and then we're going to sell it. Then we don't get an order for that one for like 6 months. So yeah, I was hesitant at first, and you're just like, dude, I'll fucking sell them. I'll sell them. Don't you worry. And anybody who knows Boris, I think Hustler is your middle name.
Yeah.
Not the magazine, but maybe. I don't know.
He's
But I think today it was, I think on our chassis tracker, we're at 85 for delivery for this year. So I had a goal back in January for 100, but I think we're going to exceed that by quite a bit.
That's awesome, man.
Can you start building them too, maybe?
If you can help out. You got any extra space over there?
We'll just send them do-it-yourself kits. Just send it out.
yeah, send him the pieces, weld it up.
I'm going to get one of those robots like he's got.
There you go.
Dude, I'll tell you what's
Mine will call off, though.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's crazy for a guy like you that's done. I mean, you've sold something or many things to everybody out there. And most of it's, well, a lot of it's stuff you haven't manufactured. You just, you've moved it. And I've still to this day, I've never heard a guy be like, yeah, I bought this car from Boris. He really fucked me on this thing. Never one guy. And you hear everybody's bought something from you.
You haven't met that guy yet?
No, I have. I mean, I'm sure he's out there somewhere.
He's out
but,
there.
I mean, it
I'm
speaks
sure.
to the kind of guy you are that, and what street machinery does is that the amount of stuff that you move and
Especially when he's
reputation.
probably selling the same car like 5 and 6 and 7 times.
I've done it.
You
You
got
know
a
it
point.
inside and out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've always said that I would never, ever, if something happened, whether it was my fault or not, I would take care of whatever needed to be taken care of. That's just how I am, because I don't want somebody going out there and say, yeah, he screwed me on that deal or whatever. I mean, I've had guys call me and they're like, hey, I got this car and you didn't tell me about this and tell me about, send it back. I mean, send it back.
Yeah.
I might have missed this or I might have missed that. It wasn't on purpose.
Right.
Send it back.
I mean, reputation's everything, especially the way you started out. And I mean, in the early 2000s and doing it, I mean, it was word of mouth. That's how you got, I mean, you weren't out there doing, crazy full page Hot Rod magazine ads and doing all this kind of stuff. Like you said, you became that guy from word of mouth. You don't put an ad out and say, I'm the air rod guy, or now I'm the patina guy. It's going to the shows. It's having that good name
Yeah.
and standing behind everything that you sell.
A lot of networking. Met a lot of people. Made a lot of connections over the years. Every time I sold a car to somebody, every time I worked on somebody's car, and they went to an event, it was always, that's another business card out there, just like you guys. So networking is definitely key. It feels good to have some of the people that I looked up to when I was in high school and looking through Hot Rod magazine and seeing popular names, and then later on in life, those guys calling me, going, hey, where can I find one of these? Or can you help me with this? So it feels pretty good, when
You think at the end of 2023, you'll sell more Roadster Shop chassis or Billet Specialties wheels?
Well, you need 4.
4 to 1.
Yeah.
So, okay, so count them as sets. Count them as sets.
And then Josh, you got to remember the guys that don't put a chassis underneath it. We still got a shot at them guys.
That's right. Yeah.
So I mean,
well, we ship 24 wheels at a time. That's how many fit on it. That's how many fit
All
on
right,
it.
all right. Moving on. What do you think you do? I mean,
flex.
and because you sell a ton of lens wheels.
Yeah.
What's an average year?
Oh, I don't know. I'd say probably about $250,000, I would think, something like that.
more, way more.
Yeah.
Some good volume.
Yeah, we move a lot of wheels.
Yeah, I saw them to him for $100 a piece too.
He gets the scratch and dent ones, right? The ones that
He's
aren't,
gonna get
aren't
a
quite
load.
round
He's
anymore.
getting a load of some stuff that was there. He'll be ordering more chassis. Trust me.
Hey, he's when I pulled up, there was wheels that actually had printed on the box. It had the name of the wheel, the size, and it says Boris next to it. And it reminded me of the time I bought my high school Trans Am back. I sold it to a guy. I bought it when I was 17. I sold it when I was 23 to a guy, local guy, and I got the word a couple years ago that it was for sale. Well, I wanted it back, and I showed up, and he's got my registration from 1992 taped in the window with my name and everything. I'm like, well, you knew I'm going to buy this thing just by putting my registration in the window. So Glenn did the same thing, put my name on the wheels.
Yep.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna go.
Label a bunch of chassis.
There you go.
So tell us your start. I know, we've talked a good bit. I know, your dad had a machine shop and seen some of his old tools, and I'm anxious to hear some more of those stories as well, because he was a little old school.
He was old school. I started right out of 8th grade. Went to work with him every morning, come home every night, 6 o'clock, go back Saturday morning. Actually started, and he was more into fabricating than he was machining. But he had CNCs in there, but he was probably most of his business, I would say, was 70% fab work.
Fabbing like what? What kind of parts and stuff?
All types of stuff. We did work for Caterpillar. We did a lot of work for Hendrickson truck suspension, electromotive, so weldments, different things. So I cut my teeth on the fab side first. That's why I told you when I'm old and I want to go do something, I come sit here and TIG weld all
We
day.
got a bay with your name on it.
So just let me sit there and weld under my hood and just dream about all the good old days, you know. That's it.
I'd like to do it right next to you. And we'll get two bays.
That's it. Perfect. You know, nobody bothering me. Hey, one thing about business I don't like is obviously the paperwork side. I'm not an office guy. I'm a shop guy. Grown up in the shop. But anyway, I started working for my dad. I was basically 13 years old. And I just really liked working with my hands and building something. So, you know, I worked all through high school. And then, you know, of course, he wanted me to go to college. And that was not an option. I didn't like going to high school, let alone going to college, you know. So anyway, went to COD, took a few classes, accounting, different stuff like that. And he tells me to take a welding class, right? So I take advanced welding, right? I get in there and we're sitting in the booth, you know, we're welding away, and the teacher walks up to me and he looks at me, he goes, "Where'd you learn how to weld?" I said, "Well, my dad's got a buzz box in the garage. I screw around with it." He looked at me, he goes, "You're full of shit." He goes, "What are you doing here?" I go, "My old man wants me to go to school." He goes, "I don't know if you're going to learn anything in this class this semester." So anyway, I came back to work, and I told my dad, I said, I'm done. I'm not going back. I'm done. You know, you should go. And I said, I'm not. We're here. Here we are. So anyway, he comes home and he tells my mom the one day, he says, "You know, all through high school, I never saw those books leave the back seat of that car. Every morning when I'd leave, his car was in the driveway. All them books were sitting in the same spot they were sitting yesterday." And he goes, "I don't know how the hell he ever did anything with himself because he never took them books out of the car, you know." So anyway, make a long story short, I'm working for my dad. I was always in cars. My 32.5 window I bought when I was 14 years old. I've done it 3 times. I did it twice. Then the last time I had Brizio do it. So I was bit by the car bug, you know. So anyway, I started messing around, and I would go to the Kane County. There was a big swap meet out there in September every year, and I started building a few widgets and stuff, and I would take them out there and sell them with a couple of guys I hung around with that were 4 or 5 years older than me. And I don't know what or why, but I went to the Street Rod Nationals in 1982, and I seen all this stuff, and I was like, man, I'm going to start building some of this stuff. And I started building it, and every time I started building more, my dad would say, "What are you doing?" And I go, "Making some parts, you know."
Were you fabbing stuff at that point, or was it machining?
I started actually fabricating some stuff like ladder bar, you know, like the rear ladder bars and stuff like that for your T's and Model A's and Roadsters and stuff like that. But then we bought another machine. He had 2 CNC lathes at the time. We bought a machining center to do some work for a guy, and I took over the machining center. So that's when I got into the machining side of it. And I was doing all the programming. So within a year, he had 3 machining centers, you know, and I was handling all of those. So then I started making the hot rod stuff, valve covers, air cleaners, pulleys, all that type of stuff.
What'd you see at Street Rod Nationals? That, like, what parts do you remember? Like,
Yeah,
like
I can remember an explicit conversation with fucking Lobeck. Exactly.
Shit, all the way back then.
Yes. And I
You were
walked
a
up.
kid, right?
Yeah, I was 23 years old. And I walked up to Barry, and he had his 32 sedan delivery there, and he had an air cleaner there. And Kurt from the Carriage Works was the guy who made the air cleaner at that time. And I asked Lobeck, "What kind of element do you use in there?" And he goes, "I ain't fucking telling you. I'm just a kid. I'm fucking nobody. I'm a zero, okay?" So he kind of pissed me off, all right? Honest to God. So I went home. I went to my buddy that owned the auto parts store, and I said, "Hey, who makes an oval air cleaner?" He goes, "Oh, that's a Ford Escort element, blah, 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 3193 or some bullshit." I said, "Pull one out." So he pulled one out. I went back to the shop and drew one up, and we made it. And then me and Lobeck became great friends years down the road. But so anyway, that's kind of how it started. And I kept building stuff, and then we would add some machines. So then eventually we lost a big contract on one of the machining centers. And my dad's like, "What are you going to do?" I said, "We're going to make hot rod parts." He's like, "What?" So I'm there day and night making stuff, you know, and just trying to get something going. And
how are you selling the stuff at that point?
at that point, local swaps, and then I did take an ad out in Street Rodder magazine and in Street Scene. And I mean, I knew nothing about marketing. I mean, you know, we were doing work for everybody. So
Billet Specialties at that point?
yes,
Okay.
yes, 1985. So now we did a lot of work for General Motors, Electromotive, the division, right? And they were moving their operation to Canada, and they were in a crunch. They were grinding for price, you know. And so anyway, they're coming in the one day, and at this point, I'm pretty much running my dad's shop. This is probably 1990-ish, something like that. And they come in, and we have this meeting, and I'm sitting on this side of the desk, and the head of the purchasing department's over there, and my dad's sitting next to him. And they go, we want another 5% cost reduction. And I said, well, it ain't going to happen. I go, we can't do it. They go, well, you're going to do it or you're going to lose the business. I said, really? I go, your volume ain't what it used to be. You understand? Well, we're your biggest customer. I said, hold on, buddy. At one time you were. Today you are not our biggest customer. And he said, well, you know, you're going to give us a price reduction or we're going to lose the business. I said, it looks like we don't have nothing to talk about. I said, take all your shit and get it out of here. My dad's sitting on the other side of the desk. He's going, what the fuck are you doing? So the guy walks out. He says, well, I'm going to cancel all. I said, cancel all of them. I go, I'm making nothing. Throw all this shit out. So my dad comes to me and he goes, you are one cocky motherfucker. And I said, nope, I'm just going to show you the other way to go, you know. And so at that point, I was going to bankrupt my old man. That's what he thought, you know. So life goes on. EMD's gone. Things are good. Bill of parts are running. And I'm ordering machines like crazy, right? Putting more stuff in the shop. And he comes in the one day, and I said, I want to talk to him and order 3 more machining centers. And he said, for what? And I said, we need them. You know, we got a lot of work, a lot of orders, and we need more equipment. He says, you don't need to do shit. Just run what you got. He said, sit down. And my dad never told me to sit down or never had a heart-to-heart ever. So he walks over, he closes the office door, sits down on the other side of the desk, and he says, you need to take some time and smell the fucking roses. I said, what? He says, all you do is work. He said, you don't need 3 more machines. He said, just keep doing what you're doing. He said, I told you were going to bankrupt me. He said, you made more money in 10 years than I made my whole fucking life. And he said, and I told you were going to bankrupt me. He said, you know, you got a beautiful shop, you got a great product line, you just built a new house. He said, you don't need to do this. Well, anyway, I said, well, maybe you don't think we need to do it, but I'm going to order 3 more machining centers, right? He got up, he walked to the door, he turned around, and he said, you're still a fucking jagoff. And he walked right out the fucking door. That's what he said to me, right? And 6 months later, he died. So he never saw what we've done today. But
That was so this discussion was after you built the house? Because I know he had some choice things to say about building the house too.
Oh, fuck. That was a whole nother one, you know. He walked over there the day they dug the hole. So I basically live almost across the street from where my parents live. So anyway, I had a house that I bought. I live on 5 acres, and I lived there for 10 years, and I was going to tear that house down and build a new house, right? So they come, they're excavating. He walks up to the back of my old house. It's still there. We're living in it. And he looks at the hole, and he goes, you're out of your fucking mind, right? And my neighbor's with him. And Noel had just put a big addition on his house, and he says, George, that's going to be a beautiful house. He's fucking nuts, you know. And so now he walks away. He never came to my house the whole time I built it. Okay, he was so pissed off at me, and so he goes by my mom, and she says, hey, George, remember when you started your business and your dad told you were crazy? My dad worked for Reynolds Aluminum. That he was going to go start his own business. You got a great job. Why are you going to quit your job? She goes, if you'd have listened to your old man, where would you be today? She goes, don't tell him what to do. Did he ask you for any money? He said, no. She said, then I guess you don't have a say. Let him do what he wants to do. So every day I'd be out there with the guys. I generaled the job, right? So my carpenters would be there, and I'd be out in the front, you know, at 7:30 in the morning talking to them. And my old man would drive by in his car, and he'd go like this. Get the fuck to work, right? So anyway, you know, we did that. So now I had this old Italian that was a bricklayer that did my house, and he's there one day, and I didn't know this, but I guess my dad, sometimes during the middle of the day, he'd come over there and see what was going on. So this Italian, Amadeo was his name. One day my dad walks over there, and he's like, hi, how are you? You know, he didn't know who my dad was, but he kind of figured it out. You know, the guy was looking, and he says to my dad, he goes, beautiful house, huh? And my dad's like, He goes, big house too. Yeah. You know, and so he goes, are you Glenn's dad? Yeah. He goes, I don't know why he's doing this. And the bricklayer says to me, he says, hey, it's a beautiful house. He said, your son's a nice guy. He said, he knows what he wants. He knows what he's doing. He said, it's going to come out really nice. So they become friends, right? Amadeo's bringing homemade wine. They're over there. They're doing this, you know. And I know none of this, okay? So finally, the house is done. It's Christmas time, so we have everybody over, you know. And my dad walks in my house. Now, he's never been in it since it's done. It's all finished. And he looks at me and goes, how did you do this? I said, do what? He said, build this house. I said, I looked around. I knew what I wanted, and I do it. He goes, yeah, but how did you do that? Run Billet Specialties and run my business. He said, how'd you get it all done? I said, I guess it was you outside the house with the fucking pointing at the watch every morning. You know? But, you know, it was, yeah, he was a treat, you know. He was and he would never tell you if you did something really good. He would say, man, that's really good, great job, blah, blah. He would just look at it and kind of like just smile a little bit, but he would never, ever tell you.
No news is good news.
Correct. That's how he was,
I
you
guess.
know. Just through his expressions, you could tell that he liked it. So when I built the first wheel, and he was at home, I said, I want to show you something. Yeah, okay, come on over. So I walk in, he's sitting in the family room, he's watching TV, and I walk in with a wheel, and I set it on the floor. He looks at it, and he goes, what? How the fuck did you do that? I said, this is, you know, something that's going on in the aftermarket automotive, hot rod world or whatever. He says, man, I don't know nothing about wheels. He goes, but that'll sell, you know. And then from that day on, he never really ever challenged me anymore. But it was, I mean, it was fights.
What year was that with the first wheel?
1988.
Shit. 15? Was it a 15-inch?
Yeah. Yep.
What did you see going on in the industry that made you decide to?
Just saw this whole craze, you know, with machined aluminum parts coming on. You know, the billet thing was going on heavy at that time, demand for it. The wheel industry, I think, was very stale, other than, you know, an American Racing or an Anson Sprint-looking wheel. Boyd was making some wheels at that time. You saw interest in that. You seen people, there was another guy, Bob Sabarbro, that was building some wheels, and, you know, him and Boyd didn't get along either.
It was a two-piece at that point?
That was three-piece they were doing at that point. And then I had a real good friend of mine who owned 22 American Racing warehouses, Jim Kelly. And I told Jim, I said, I want to get in the wheel business. He says, why the hell do you want to do that? I said, I want to make some wheels for these hot rods, you know. And so I started buying rims from American Racing. He hooked it up for me. Well, when Boyd found out I was getting rims, he blew a gasket, man, you know. But I also had another friend of mine that built steel wheels years ago, and I went to school with his son and daughter, and Art Hale Sr. had bought Don Melbinger's company. They were in Stone Park, and back in the day, they made like the wagon wheels for the lifted trucks. Yeah. Don developed all that, and Art Hale bought his business and moved him to California. Huh. So I knew Don very well ever since I was in high school. So I kind of had a connection with those guys. And
so you had some people to run some things by, because that's where my next question is like, what? How the fuck? You don't just be like,
I'll tell you a story.
The wheel. I mean, seriously.
So Don Melbinger comes in town, and I wanted to come by my shop because I wanted to show him a couple of finished wheels. And I said, I want to know if these wheels are, you know, are they true enough? Are they good enough? Whatever. So he comes in, and I put the wheel up there, and I put indicators on the run out of the bead seats and stuff. And I look at him, I go, are they okay? He goes, oh yeah, they're okay. And I said, well, what do you mean they're okay? He said, no, they're okay. He said, no, that wheel will go 200 miles an hour as true as that wheel is. And I said, really? He said, yeah. He goes, how in the fuck are you doing this? So I took him in the back, and I showed him how we were assembling them and what we were doing. He goes, yeah, you're right on. He goes, you know what you're doing. And I had never been in America. I've never been anywhere to see it, you know. But my dad's background was aluminum fabrication, okay, back when he was at Rose. He knew so much about aluminum and different alloys that he really had an influence on me when it came to welding, fabricating, putting stuff out.
It seems like a lot of times not knowing how to do something is the best way to do something.
Yeah.
Because then you don't know what the
Not to do.
Well, you don't know what
No
not to do, and you don't know
constraints.
what the standard is, and maybe that standard is too low.
Right.
So all you're just going to do it the way you know how to do
Right.
it.
You know, school of hard knocks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
How do you go into the wheel business when you're essentially the only thing out there other than Boyd is like you can go buy an American Racing cast center wheel for what, like $75 a wheel or
probably
something
back
at the
then.
time?
Yeah, probably.
And
Your
you're going to
material cost is probably
Yeah.
that.
and you're going to go to
Oh,
market
way
with
more, yeah.
what I mean back
At
what
that
does
time,
a wheel cost?
we were
Yours?
getting for 15-inch wheels, we were getting $1,600 a set.
That's
Damn.
fucking nuts at that time, I bet.
Yep.
I mean, it was high. I mean,
That was great. Like you
Stupid
said, you
high-end
could have
shit.
bought a set of American Racing wheels for under $400.
what are you doing on are you asking American Racing and some of the other guys that you know in like popular fitment stuff, or are you just being like, okay, I'm going to do 15x7 and 5-on-5 and 5-on-4 3/4 and
Yeah, you know, we were catering to hot rods back then. So it was like a 15.6, 3.5 on the front, and either was a 15.7, 3.5, or 4 on the back, or 15.8, 4.5. So it was very common.
okay?
And when we first started doing wheels, they were full brush finish. That was the look back then.
Yeah.
Then it went to polished. you
Probably
know,
harder
now-
to brush them, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like uniform.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but you know now brushing's coming back again. Now you got to have 99 different colors and all the different shit. You know, and it's the
Back
wheel business
spacings.
has gotten more complicated.
Oh,
The
like
last
you're
4 or
saying, the
5 years,
back spacing, the
crazy.
brake profiles. Back
You know,
then,
we-
I mean, everybody had what?
Yeah.
There was one set of brakes.
Yeah, the biggest brake you had to deal with was the C3 generation Corvette, whatever, it had 7/8 caliper or whatever it was on it. That was it, 3/4 caliper. Now you need to clear 2 inches on some stuff, you know, 3. So, and today it's very common for us on some of these, let's call them urban fitments, and even your pro touring, where, you know, you got a big pad on the front wheel, but a smaller pad. Everybody wants lip on a wheel.
Yep.
So we went, for the years, everything was talked about in backspace or offset. Now, you answer the telephone, I want 7 inches of lip. You don't measure a wheel by lip, buddy. What kind of car do you got? And you got to fill the sheet. I go, your fitment dictates how much lip you're going to have, or center profile.
Well, I'm just telling you, I want 7 inches of lip. So
Yeah, you figure the rest out.
You keep back talking, you'll get 7 inches of lip. But yeah, so it's changed. The language has changed, you know, in it, how they want to describe it. But, you know, even like the forging profiles, we probably have, I'll bet you I got 50 different forging profiles that are built for us, you know. So by the time you stock all of that and all the rims and the different center profiles and turning, it's crazy. I think we added last week to our race series program, I think we added over 2,000 part numbers that can be built.
when did you see your first set of Billet Specialties wheels?
First set was no, I bought a used set. I drove all the way to Chicago. There used to be an auction. I drove up here to buy a 62 bubble top. Is there like a White Lake or something, or Crystal Lake? Crystal Lake. There was
Yeah, it's
an
right up there.
auction at Crystal Lake, and they had a 409 Roman red 62 bubble top. So I drove up here to buy that car, and somebody had a used set of Billet Specialty 5-on-5 like OBS fitment wheels, and I don't even know where I found them. Maybe like on sporttruck.com or something. And my first set was actually used.
It was probably one of my ex-employees that took them out the back door.
Out the back door.
Yeah, that was my first set. But my first new set was a set of SLD 89s that I bought from Lobeck. I still remember it was $1,670. And everybody, when I went there to pick them up, everybody in the whole shop was like, "What are you putting those on?" So I'm gonna put them on a 62 wagon. They're like, "Oh man, that big?" But that was my first set of new billet wheels.
When did you said Boyd blew a gasket when he found it? When did you get on Boyd's radar? When you started buying barrels?
Oh, yeah, 1988, 1989.
And he was
Oh,
the,
my-
he had
was
his finger on that big much of the pulse of what's
Oh,
going
yeah.
on.
Oh,
he was
yeah.
the king
Yeah.
shit in the wheel
Yeah.
business at
Oh,
that
yeah.
time.
Yeah, he had a head of steam going, and he called me up on the telephone. He goes, "I don't like competition," and I'm thinking it's him and Trader Tim. I don't know if you knew Trader Tim from Traders back in the day. So anyway, they're both on the phone with a conference call with me, and my sister had answered the phone. She said that Boyd Coddington's on the telephone. I'm like, what?
Why is Traders on the call?
Because he was a big Boyd distributor at the time. Well, he was going to flex his muscles with Boyd on the phone. So Boyd calls me up, and he's spitting. He's livid. He's like, he opened the magazine, and we had a full-page ad in the magazine, right? And he says to me, he goes, you know, I don't like competition. He said, I just got the new Street Rider magazine. And he said, I'm tired of looking at your fucking ad. I said, well, turn the fucking page. That's exactly what I told him.
Well,
Right?
turn the page. There's another Billet Specialties ad because you used to have like 8 pages of ads in those things.
So anyway, Tim jumps in. You know, they're both bickering whatever about it. And he goes, you know, I don't like competition, and this is bullshit, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, then, Boyd, I said, you know what? I said, when you were working at Disneyland, I said, we still had CNC machines here, okay, in my dad's business. I said, I don't know. You don't even know who you're talking to. I said, but I said, I just want you to know what you do isn't witchcraft, okay? I said, it can be done. And I said, I'm sorry you don't like competition. I go, but I kind of thrive on it. I said, so I don't think I'm going anywhere. So I go, just get used to seeing the ads, and that's it. So there was a guy back in the day who's passed away now, Nick, who owned Big Al Carpones, and he made gas pedals. And Boyd built his gas pedals and door handles and stuff. And so Nick was real good friends with another buddy of mine down in Kansas City, Don Kane. And he called Don, and he said, holy shit, man, I was at Boyd's today, and they called Glenn. And he said, I don't know what Glenn said to him. He said, but he came out of that office and he was fucking shaking. He said he had a set of veneer calipers in his hands. He said he was so nervous he dropped them motherfuckers, man. Right? And Don started laughing. He goes, oh, he'll get over it, you know. But that's when it all started, you know. So it was, but, you know, Boyd wasn't just like that with me. He was like that with Alan Budnick. He was like that with Greg Weld. And me and Greg Weld were real good friends, okay? And when Greg wanted to do some billet wheels, I actually made Greg his first billet wheel centers. And so me and Greg were good. I've been through Weld racing, you know, come on down. We went to lunch. You know, Greg was he's an innovator. That guy was on the gas all day, every day. I had a lot of respect for that guy. You know, he was
funny that Boyd's telling you that stuff, and he, you know, like you said, he has no idea who he's talking to.
Right.
But he also has no idea how him telling you you can't make it, you're not going to make it, I don't like competition. That basically, that's what you've been told your whole life. That's your dad always. You just talked about it. That's what drove you even more. It's somebody telling you not to do it.
That's what I was going to say. I go, you just gave me the best pep talk of my life by doing that, because I knew you were vulnerable. Okay, that you didn't like it. So the more I pushed, the more I got under your skin.
Showed a weakness.
But I didn't do it because I didn't like the guy. I mean, he just felt that at the time, I think he felt that he created this high-tech street rod world and that nobody could have a piece of it other than him. And, you know, this goes on later, years down the road. Me and him got into it in Louisville at the Street Rod Nationals. He came, every year he would come to Louisville, and he would run a sale that was just stupid. Oh, yeah. Okay, stupid. So
he would do like 30 and 40% off on shit.
So the one year I about had enough of it, and I said to my guys, I said, we're going to run a sale. I go, what are you going to do? I said, well, we're going to knock the dealer program. We're going to sell it dealer, and we're going to give the dealers, we're still going to give them their discount. We're going to run a sale this weekend. You're going to what? I said, we're going to do it. I said, I just want to watch what the fuck happens. Right? So we're there, and I think we sold 260 sets of wheels that weekend. Okay.
Jesus.
So now, Johnny Friend from Hunter's Automotive, he's outside at his booth. I'm inside, and I go walking out by Johnny, and Johnny is set up directly across from Boyd. So as I come walking by, Boyd says to me, did you sell your fucking quota? And I turned around, and I was by Johnny. I said, did he say something to me? Johnny says, don't start. Don't start. I said, no, enough's enough. I walked up to him. I said, you know what, Boyd? I said, I respected you. Okay, I said, you've done a lot for the industry. I said, But you know what? You can go fuck yourself, okay? I said, I don't know. If you think, he goes, well, I don't like competition. I invented that fucking wheel. I go, you didn't invent the fucking wheel. The caveman invented the fucking wheel, okay? I go, we just improved it, okay? I go, so put all that bullshit aside. If it wasn't for me, I said, if it wasn't for fucking Henry Ford, there wouldn't be any 32 Fords on this fairground right now, okay? I go, so you want to take credit for that too? And we got into it, man, right? Well, he had an ice cream cone in his hand. He started shaking again. He dropped that fucking ice cream cone. He thought I was going to hit him. So John Stroud, who worked for Budnick, John worked for Boyd, then he worked for Budnick. Now he's working for the NSRA. He sees me after this thing gets done. He goes, what the fuck? I thought you were going to deck him. I said, no, John, I wasn't going to hit him. Well, Johnny Friend told me, he said he got in his car. He never came back the whole weekend. He left. But then you heard the story years ago at Good Guys Indy when Al Maines from Colorado Custom knocked him out in the freaking banquet.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, oh, yeah. Boyd is in the lobby, and Al Maines is behind him talking to some people. And Boyd says, yeah, I don't know who the fuck that Colorado Custom guy is, but I'm tired of his bullshit too, or whatever. Well, Al Maines was a little rowdy. Me and him got along real good too, okay? So anyway, he heard Boyd say that. So he tapped Boyd on the shoulder and he said, Boyd Connick? He goes, Al Maines, go fuck yourself. And he hauls off with a right and knocks Boyd out right in the middle of the line. Well, he got arrested. Boyd pressed charges on him, I believe, was arrested. So the wheel business gets a little crazy,
Where
man.
is that shit?
I was just going to ask, just to curtail where I know this is going to go. Can you get away with that now?
No, I don't think so.
You heard
Josh,
that, right?
Josh tried. You remember? I wasn't there for it, but we had a similar situation in the chassis business. Remember, you were at a certain Texas shop.
Oh.
Had yourself an altercation.
I gave him warning what was about to happen, and he could make
Yeah.
a choice on if it was going to happen or not. He chose for it not to happen. So
Yeah, it was some pretty crazy times. But, it's egos, I guess.
It is.
It's all egos, and
there's a certain portion of it that it is healthy
Yeah.
for the competition and the push.
Absolutely.
It just at a certain point, like it does need to kind of.
yeah, I mean, and, I told Boyd this. I said, we need to all get along. I said, you're not going to get all the wheel business. I'm not going to get all the wheel business. And I think it's up to the customer. The customer should get what he wants. So if he likes a Boyd wheel, buy a Boyd wheel. If he likes a Budnick wheel, buy a Budnick wheel. If he wants a Billet wheel, buy a Billet wheel. Whatever it is, it's their choice. It's so I mean, it's 31 flavors. Pick what you want. Pick what you like. Sure. But I said I think we should all be thankful for the industry and the opportunities that we've had, and we've all done very well. And I think there's room for. I mean, look at how many chassis manufacturers there are, guys.
They're out. I've said that too. The guys who build quality stuff. I mean, I've always had respect for their competitor of ours.
Maybe we should start decking them though.
Well, but no, I've always respected Art Morrison and what they
Yeah.
build. I mean, he's got a great business. They build a good product. I've had respect. I mean, Kyle Tucker's a friend of ours.
Yes.
I mean, Kyle's a damn rock star. He's built a
Came
hell
on
of a product.
fucking podcast. I mean, who you gonna?
Right.
No, exactly.
Did y'all ever bury the hatchet?
Yeah, I can tell you. So one day I get a phone call from Dwayne, and actually he was talking to Keith because Boyd needed an LS True Track for his TV show. So Dwayne called and talked to Keith, and he said, can you talk to Glenn and see if we can buy a True Track? He says, we need one for this car, and I know him and Boyd got bad blood and blah, 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 and I just want to see if we can get something going, if we can buy one. So Keith comes to me, he says, what do you want to do? I says, well, I'm not against selling one to him. I said, but I'm going to tell you what, I get one bad rap, press-wise or something out of it. I said, that's it, I'm done. So he calls him back. He says, yeah, we'll sell you one, right? So we send it to him. Here's Boyd's personal credit card. We don't need his personal credit card. Here's his cell phone if Glenn wants to call him. I said, I don't need a cell phone number. I said, just send him the True Track system. So he got it. About 2 weeks go by. Dwayne calls up again. He goes, I need another one. Need another one? Yeah. He said, man, they're nice. Okay. Send him another one. Another month goes by. He orders another one. So at SEMA, Boyd came to our booth to see me. And I was not there, and he talked to Scott. And he said, is Glenn here? And Scott says, no. He's with a customer or somewhere. He says, well, make sure you tell him that I stopped by to see him. He said, I just wanted to tell him I understand why he's in business now. He said, because he builds a hell of a product, and just tell him thank you for selling that to me. He says, but
That's pretty cool.
you know, so I never got at that point. So that was in November, and I think Boyd passed away in February in the hospital or whatever it was when he got that infection or sepsis or whatever it had. So I had never gotten a chance to talk to him, but, you know, I think it would have been resolved at that point, you know. But it was just, he didn't like competition, and he felt that he built, you know, the whole industry. But in reality, when I first built my coupe in 1975, you guys weren't around.
No.
Bill O'Rourke was not around.
Nope.
Okay. So if you wanted a chassis for a 32 Ford, they didn't exist, buddy.
Right.
Okay. You had to build something. And this whole industry evolved. And I mean, look at the product line today that you make, that we make, the brake companies, everything that's out there. It's come a long, long way. And it's for the better. So the competition built the best products that we have today.
Oh, yeah.
If we didn't have it, we wouldn't be anywhere.
What kind of what's steered the direction of your product line? Because to me, you're obviously known for the wheels, but your catalog, I mean, it's infinite.
Like dealing with guys like Boris.
Just what people,
Yourself.
what guys wanted.
Yeah, what guys want, what there's a demand for. And, you know, a lot of it is probably just being passionate, as passionate about the industry as I am, or the car industry. So I always want to do more. But I think a lot of it comes from your customer base and watching and looking and dealing with the guys that you have, you know, grown with. So, I mean, this guy, he's got a ton of good ideas for stuff.
He's full of them.
Yeah.
You charge him for the ideas? Is there royalties? So you let those?
Yeah, the pallets of wheels he picked up. Man.
Glenn's taken care of me over the years.
How many ball end mills did you purchase in the entire 90s? From 1990 to
I don't
1999?
know, man.
Still has them.
A lot.
You still have any Heartbeat of America valve covers?
You know what? I don't think I do.
They're coming. They're
Coming
coming
back.
back.
You think?
Oh, absolutely. OBS shit. Fucking
I know.
G-bodies and all that stuff.
I know we're getting asked for OBS stuff, you know, for the interior stuff of the trucks. I threw all the fixturing away. I got rid of all that shit.
Dude,
We did the OBS truck for Good Guys, and these two wanted to machine a fucking tune port intake for an LS motor.
Yeah. We
It
got
would've happened.
we took
They're proud of it,
Yeah,
too.
100% would have happened. We took your valve covers. That's got your small block Chevy, like I don't know if they're the tall ones or
yeah.
mid heights, but I wanted the Heartbeat of America ones. So we got the plain
Oh, we still
ones.
have the program.
We got the plain ones, and then we put.
I'll send it to you,
We
Jeremy.
put the
You
little
can cut it in
Roadster
one.
Shop logo, with Good Guys kind of thing in them, and
Yeah.
they're rad. I mean, they're really
Coming
cool.
back.
We
Coming
sold a
back.
ton of them. But yeah, all that stuff. But yeah, I don't know.
That truck was actually pretty cool to do because it's got all your
Yeah.
stuff on it. And I mean, you guys, it was like, if you're going to put wheels on a truck like that, I mean, they've got to be
Yeah.
built
Yeah, that's
special.
kind of the home run,
know,
doing the big diameter version of what was big in the 90s.
We
It's-
have made almost every, well, back in the day they were called GT series. It was our lower line wheel, okay?
Yep.
I've done probably 90% of all them styles in 24 through 28 inch because the old school, they want them.
Yep.
I mean, I had to build a set for a guy last week in 28 inch. I said, man, I don't want to do it. Come on, man. I'll whatever. I don't care what it takes. I want 'em. I said, it ain't about that. I don't have time to do all this. Man, you got to do it, man. My uncle was running this shit on the streets in the city in the 90s, man. I'm like, yeah, so you got a box Chevy and you want 28 inchers on there now. Well, they're done. But it's kind of flattering because they do remember it from back in the day, you know? And
been
they
around
want it.
long enough to see the trend circle
Yeah,
back.
it's like bell-bottom jeans. They went out of style. They came back. They went out again. It's like,
Like OBS trucks.
yeah.
I mean, that's what.
I mean, I got that red flame OBS truck that was done in 97, and I've hung on to it. My God, it's worth 2 times what it was worth back then. It was a new truck, you know, and I don't know. But it's good to see that, you know, and I think everybody, whatever was hot when they were in high school or at that age,
100%.
it rolls around again. I mean, look at the Camaros, you know, third gens. I can't believe the price they're getting on some of these cars, and they were nothing that good when they were built.
No,
you know?
no, they weren't.
So,
Well, all the effort you go through to make a small block or an LS or an LT look like a
Yes.
shitty old stock small block Chevy. We would throw that stuff away the second it came in the shop 5 years ago.
yeah.
And now you're scoping through eBay trying to find some weird old small block valve cover or intake manifold.
Yep.
So y'all mentioned earlier Gary Case. Where did he come in on all of this? Because I probably hear his name in more conversations.
The name comes up constantly. I
all
never
the
met
time.
the guy.
I've only talked to him a few times on the phone and stuff. And good grief, he's had his hands like in everything.
Well, Gary started building cars at one point in his life.
Yeah, he was building cars. He had a body shop. He started styling concepts in the late 80s. And he's from Cleveland. I'm from Cleveland. That's how I met him. I think we were at the Autorama indoor car show, and I had a bubble top. You want to sell that? No, I don't want to sell it. We hit it off. Kept running into him. He used to run the power tour. So I'd see him on the power. He's like, what are you doing in California? I go, I get around too,
Yeah.
And we ended up becoming friends. I did some work on a car for him, and, just been friends ever since, over 25 years.
And I started selling him parts when he owned Styling Concepts.
He's everything I've ever heard has always been good.
Oh, he's a great guy, man.
I mean, it doesn't matter. You could be anywhere in the country at a show talking about somebody telling some story, and it's like, and it was me and Gary Case, and it's like he was there.
He used to put on one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best events ever. It was called the Sport Truck Nationals. It was held in Owensboro, Kentucky, at the Rivermont Executive Hotel. It was, man, what a blast! What a blast! I met people at that event that I still talk to today. That was like
Big
90,
Mike.
90.
You met
Yeah,
Big
I
Mike
met,
there.
Yeah, Mike Eden. He had an El Camino, and he had a full tweed interior, all one color. And I told Mike, I said,
Wasn't a red gut.
no, it was
pre-red gut.
Yeah, it was a bone colored. And I told him, I said, this is the best interior this whole event. And on Sunday, Gary would have an unbelievable award ceremony, and Mike won best interior. I told my wife, I told you, I picked it. But yeah, that was a great event. Gary would put that on. He used to put on the Power Tour, the Merit Cruise, all that stuff back in the 90s. He used to do a lot of the placement of the vehicles at SEMA. And, of course, now he's doing that with Bobby Alloway,
Yep.
Triple Crown.
Triple Crown.
Cool that he's a part of that and can bring that back and
I'm anxious to see
cool ideas.
go to that show. I think it's gonna be a really good time.
Yeah, it is.
Talking about events and shows, you've done a lot of stuff. Both of you guys have. So, street rod of the 80s and 90s events. The current, probably, mid 2000s to now, good guys and pro touring events. Yeah. Then you got your trucking, Slam Fest and, Heat Wave and any of the, sport truck stuff. Yeah. And then you go to Sturgis, out of all those events and those scenes, what's the craziest or the most fun you've had out of all those? Those are all different.
Well, yeah, they're, the street rod scene back in the 90s was so strong. You'd go to, I remember going to the Street Rod Nationals in St. Paul back in 82. It was, guys would drive from California to come to that event. So it was truly a national event. There were cars from Rhode Island, California, Alaska, from all over. Whereas today, they're more regional events. They're not national events anymore.
Too many of them.
Yes, there's too many shows. You would look, when we would go set up at the Street Rod Nationals and we would have that trailer loaded full of parts, right? They'd be 8 deep across the whole front of the trailer waiting to buy parts. Today, that's gone. The internet's changed it. That's all changed. And then, by demographics, all these guys have gotten older that were into the street rod world. So that's, street rodding in the 90s was probably 70% of my business, and 30% of it was lowered trucks, let's say, okay? Then it shifted to trucks, okay? Then from there, it went to street machines. Then the trucks now have come back strong, okay? So now we're dealing with trucks, a lot of race wheels, racing seems to be strong. With the younger guys, say 25 to 35 years old, they're all about performance. So we sell a tremendous amount of product for those guys. Those guys aren't into necessarily shiny wheels. They're into performance,
Yeah.
horsepower, drivability.
That's wild. My son's 16, and like they don't really care about the looks or any of that kind of stuff. It's all about the speed. Everybody, I mean,
Yeah.
it's wild how that's coming. It's just like
It's
big turbos, drag cars, everything's about
you
doing
know,
something stupid.
I think the aftermarket industry is still strong, and it will be. I think people are still passionate about cars, and even maybe with these electric cars being pushed on us all now, but I think people still want to race and do whatever they got to do. So I think the late model performance type cars are going to be in demand, and they're going to want to modify them and race. It's a release, you know. People want to go have fun and do things. So I don't know.
It'd be a lot easier for you too, fitment wise.
Yeah,
It's one size
yeah.
or a 10-year run of Challengers or
Correct.
Mustangs or
Yep.
Camaros.
Yeah, like my son, he's got a new
Idiots
Mustang.
like us coming up with one-off stupid shit regularly.
Oh, I mean, I had a guy today call for a one-off wheel, and he got a hold of Scott, and he's from some band. I can't remember who it was, and he says, "Yeah, I'm stoned off my mind. Sorry, bro. I'm talking to you." But he goes, "I want to build this thing for charity, and I want to give them away, and I want to do this." And Scott goes, "Well, send me a proposal of what you would like done." He goes, "Well, man, I was just hoping you guys could come up with something." Go take another hit, okay? But yeah, it's the car level has gone up so high.
Yeah.
To where all these high dollar cars, they do want one-off wheels, and I understand it. I get it, but you know, my business is really tailored to build a product line and deliver the product line. You know, we do some one-off wheels, but if I wanted to do them, you know, you got to have a guy doing them every day, all day.
Yep.
And I just
Yeah, I
don't want
think
to do
I've
it.
gotten a good enough grasp on your business, and I know what we do back there to know that, like, when we get these crazy one-offs, I wouldn't even bother you with it because it's more of a pain in the ass for
It
what
is,
you're
you
doing.
know, and-
Even my asks, usually when I reach out, I'm sure you guys dread it because it's always something just a little bit different, you know.
No,
but
the wheels that we just did for you for the trucks, that's easy. It's the crazy, you know.
Talking about, you touched on it earlier about wheel fitment and measuring and stuff like that. That's a dark art, it seems like, in the our customer base, and I assume your customer base
Yep.
as well. Tell anybody that's out there listening right now some like hard facts or things that they must do. We deal with it on the chassis side all the time because they bought a chassis, they're wanting to put tires on it, and they've called you and you say I need backspace measurements, and then they call us and say, what's the backspace?
Right.
You sent the wheel diagram, and they need measurement A, B, and C.
Correct. So we'll go through it with them. We need to know what brakes you're running on the car. If you can't measure the car, give me the kit number from Willwood or Bear
I'm
or
running the
whatever.
Bear brakes on it. That's what I'm gonna run the Bears on it, front and rear.
Yeah, exactly. But which ones? Because they make thousands of
Red
part numbers
calipers.
too.
I'm gonna run the red calipers.
Yeah. so
Got the
And
logo on there.
they get almost mad because you're asking them to give you this information, but we try to explain to them, you know, we're building you a $5,000 set of wheels or whatever amount they are. It doesn't matter. And we want to make sure that they're going to fit your hub and your brake system. You need to give us this information. And we ask them, okay, is the car got a chassis under it? Whose? Is it a stock chassis? Has it got spindles? Has it got a narrowed rear end? Has any modifications been done to it? Has it been tubbed? Well, I don't know. Well, you know, I had a guy argue with me 3-4 years ago. I built a set of 24-inch wheels for a 70 Chevelle, okay? And he told me what he had. It's stock, yes, okay, great. I'll build you the wheel. I know what you need. So I build them for him. He comes to pick them up. He says, it doesn't have enough lip. And I said, that's the fitment for that car. That's what you're going to get. He says, well, I can't even show this to my customer. He's not going to want them. I said, they're going to fit. I'm not even putting them on the fucking car. I go, put them on the car. I'm telling you, that's the max width you're going to get in it, and that's the max lip. It's tight. It's shoehorn. Nope, I ain't doing it. I ain't even showing it to him. I says, well, they're yours. You do what you want to do with them, right? So now he gets hold of my kid. He says, I'm telling you, I can't show those to my customer. My son says, look, my dad told you it's going to fit. I'm telling you it's going to fit. Did you try them? No, I didn't try them. So now he tells me, well, Ford Giotto can get a 7-inch lip. I go, I can get a 7-inch lip too. Did you cut the rear end and tub it?
Or did you
No.
cut the quarter panels?
Right, exactly.
go somewhere.
Exactly. What did you do, right? He's like, no, but they can do a 7-inch lip. I said, look, we can do what any other wheel company can do, okay? This is simple. So I pull out a CAD drawing, and I show him the center, and I show him the rim, and I show him the drop center, and I said, look, you see this? This is how far back you can go. Unless you want to do a reverse and set it on that lip, then you can end up with about 2 inches of backspace. You can have all the lip you want. Do whatever you want, but you're going to modify the car, the chassis. No, they can do it. So about 3 weeks go by. He calls my kid up and he goes, hey, you need to tell your dad he was spot on. Them wheels fit perfect. He was right. And, you know, so it becomes, we're asking them for information because we need the information. Right. And if they don't have the skill set to measure it, then you got to take it to someone, buddy, to do it for you, okay? We can suggest something, but that's why we ask for those dimensions. And
especially when you're nailing it down to that quarter inch.
Exactly. You know, and check both sides of the car, just like you guys were talking earlier. Check it, because it can vary. And I have had customers go, hey, on this side it's this, and on this side it's that. I go, if you measure it correctly, we'll build them that way, because it can happen.
How many different Camaros have we built?
That's what I was going to say. We've
And
done.
that's what it was on. It was a Camaro.
We've done. I think I was looking through recently for a guy. We had like 7 or 8 67 Camaros, 67, 68s are basically the same. And the width varied by an inch, and the backspace varied by like 3/4 of an inch between all of those
Same
cars.
chassis, same mini tub, same exact build over and over and over and over.
Dude, and on the Survivor cars, just like you said, I mean, you'll get a quarter panel that the driver's side will be an inch wider than the passenger side, and it never fails that you always measure the wide side.
Yeah.
So then the other one, that fucker just does not fit. You know?
And then the people think, well, I'm over here at the roadster shop. What the fuck? They don't know what they're doing. I'm spending all this money. Hey, you know.
You don't tell them about that.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
It is I mean, it's a kind of
wheel thing is
it's tough. Like there's a lot of variables that go into it, and I'll sit there and have like an internal battle with myself over like a 16th or an 8th as I'm filling out that form, and I'm like, God, damn, I think I can get it. Like but man, that's
Fuck
shit.
it.
Right.
I got a story for you guys. So we got a guy on the phone one day, and he calls up, and he's got a set of street race wheels on his car.
I remember that.
And he's down in Florida, and he's telling us that the wheel is falling apart. The inside lip on the back wheel is falling apart, right? We're like, what? There's no way. Yeah, it's cracking. It's falling apart. The rim fall apart, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how, but okay, send it in. I want to see it. The wheel comes in. The race wheels take a mag shank lug nut, 15-inch. Okay. He's got a conical seat lug nut. He doesn't have a mag shank in the wheel. Okay. He jams it into the. There's no 60-degree taper to put the lug in, right? Mm-hmm. So he just puts them on stock lug nut. He drove this car. The back bell of the wheel was grinding on the shock mount off the rear end. He never heard it grinding. He like tree panned it on a lathe. He cut the ring off the wheel. That's how far he drove. He had him on for 6 months. He said, "Oh yeah, your wheel cracked." I go, "No, my wheel didn't crack.
you cut it.
You cut it off.
You parted it.
Right?" So he
Nice
says,
and
"Well,
clean,
he says,
too.
well, can you fix them?" I go, "Yeah, we can build you 2 new wheels." Okay. He says, "Well, can you send them back?" I said, "Look, I don't want to send them back to you." I said, "Because I'm not letting them out of this shop." I go, "They're not safe. You ain't gonna weld them." I go, "They're junk, you know." But this is the type of stuff you deal with, and some consumers should not be working on cars, and I don't mean to say that in a bad way, but if you don't, you're gonna end up killing yourself doing something. And you know, ask somebody or go get the right information or take it to somebody to look at, because they don't know.
It's difficult, like you said. You're wanting to do it because at the end of the day, the most important thing is for them to be happy after the sale.
Right.
It'd be way easier. We deal with it on the chassis side, not as technical, but we do. The sales guys deal with it all the time, where it's, all right, you want to buy a chassis for a Camaro. Great. Spec chassis. We'll start there because it's the easiest thing. What motor are you putting in it? It's going to be a GM. It's going to be either LS or a small block. All right, well,
Yes,
kind of need to know what transmission. Definitely an automatic. Either 4L80, maybe 4L60. What about that 8? I might be doing 8-speed or the 10-speed.
Unless Irvin sells it, then it's a TBD.
Yeah, and then it's a TBD.
That's that new one.
And again, you're trying. Look,
We're going to work with Bowler on developing a TBD.
TBD transmission. That's a new one. So you want to make sure that the customer is going to be happy with what you've sent them, but then they, like you said, they almost start getting frustrated. It's like, I just want to buy the chassis. I get it, but a lot of these things determine how we build some things, you know. And it's, are you mini tubbing it? Well, do I need to? What size wheels and tires? Well, what size will fit? Well, it depends on if you're planning on mini tubbing or not. Well, I want a big one. Well, okay, then
want a
mini
10,
tub it. Oh, I don't want to cut
12.
the car. And not, you know, talking bad about customers. It's like you said, you're trying. Sales guys are trying. Your sales guys are trying. You're like, I know you called because you want it badass. Right. You called because you want it right.
Yeah.
So let's work together. It might be just a couple more things that you might have to find out or measure or do something like that. But I mean, it's going to be so much better on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep them on the phone long enough, you'll get the truth out of them.
Yeah. And I don't know that everybody understands, but wheels and tires, in my opinion, right? Wheels, tires, stance, most important things
On the car.
on the car.
Right.
Like, period. And I don't think people always understand the levels you go through to fit like a half-inch larger OD or half-inch wider wheel on a car. I mean, the things we've done over the years just to get that look.
Yes.
And people might see it, you know, you see it in a picture, that car looks fucking amazing. What is it about that car that looks so badass? I mean, there's a series, there could be a week's worth of labor in making adjustments just to get that
Right.
stuffed in the wheel opening.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want that one. I want it to look like that.
Yeah. Well, you bring
I
it
wanna
here.
do any of that work.
When we build it, that's what you get. You know,
Oftentimes too, we've had this happen over the years where somebody will call in, and they'll want a specific size wheel, right? And it's just totally odd. Say, let's just say it's a 21 by 14 or something odd, right? Why do you need that? No, that's what I need. Well, what tire are you going to put on it? Because as of what we're talking about, there's not a tire.
Yep.
That's why the rim ain't made. There's no tire to put on
Sure.
it. You know. Oh no, this is what I need. How are you measuring that wheel? Well, this is what I was told I need. Look, I think you're going down the wrong path, but people pick up on hearsay or just people talking, and because they hear it mentioned a lot of times, they think that's what they need.
Yep.
When in reality, it's not what they need. And you try to educate them, but sometimes it's hard. So for us, the toughest part we have is to educate the consumer on wheels and what they're doing and why you would want to run this type of wheel over that type of wheel. And it takes time. And unless you're really into it and you really do some research, then you'll start to get it. But, you know, you got to be willing to put the time in.
I remember back like 2001, we did that Model A, you know, with my old man.
Yeah, the green one.
Yeah, and we were, before the car was done, we went out to a good guy's show and we're just looking around because we were going to buy wheels. You know, it was a high boy.
Yeah.
So you need wheels. And the one thing you know that's easy to grasp is diameter, right? You can you can look at something, you're like, I want 18s. So we ended up stumbling across Colorado Customs at the time. You know, we were young kids, no idea. Look, there was some 5-spoke wheel and we just ordered wheels. I want wheels for a Model A. It never dawned on me. In a million years, I would have never thought that a brake had anything to do with the wheel. Right? It didn't click. And it's a high boy.
Right.
So even that, it's like, well, shit, you can put the wheel wherever backspace is. And I didn't know the word backspace. You just, what wheels fit a Model A? So I was that guy. I mean, we were that guy that you don't know. So we end up getting the wheels, you know, and this thing's sticking out there. It looks like a damn like T-Bug. You know,
The
wheels
old
are,
Munster mobile.
Oh, you could have fit. You could have fit. It could have been a dually. You could have fit another wheel and tire in between. And we're all pissed. We're looking at this thing. We're like, "What? The fucking wheels are all fucked up." You know, this fucking guy sold us the wrong wheels. Like, so we ended up shortening the rear end and you know to bring them in. But it just I had no idea of what backspace was. I mean, we could have pulled the wheel in 2 inches and bam, everything would have been.
And that was a
perfect.
high boy. You had no fenders
Exactly.
to worry about. You had nothing to clear.
So and
It was a straightforward build. It was a Model A on 32 rails. With,
right, but then the front's easy. The front's handled. That you just center them, right? Front's just what it is. No problem there. But the back, you had 2 wheels you had to get right.
Exactly.
Failed miserably.
No.
the fronts are the complicated ones too. That's the shit that turns.
Yeah. Yep. But
Yeah, it's wild. Like you said, I do think though, in the last probably 5 years, the customer base has gotten way more educated.
I would agree.
You know, it's a little bit younger, but they've either
There's
they,
a lot more information out
There's,
there.
yeah,
Exactly.
I was going to say there's a lot more information online now, and forums, groups, whatever, people talking, conversing back and forth, to where they can get knowledgeable if they're willing to take the time and read it. You know, and look.
To displace everything we just said, like what backspace do you need on a 62 Chevy?
5 1/4 on the front,
On
5 1/2
on the back.
So American Racing, and well, not just American Racing, but a lot of the one-piece wheels out there. I don't know who developed the backspacing on those wheels, but they will
Those are
kind of
offset.
fit everything. But
But not fit anything.
yeah, I mean, just
Yeah.
so
That's
when
what we run
Glenn
into.
decided to do the one-piece wheels, we sat down and figured out like what is going to fit 95% of. Let's just get all the cars that we work on
Right.
and have
The
just a
popular.
couple part numbers that'll fit
that was
all
a
those
great
cars.
thing, by the way, when you came out. I remember seeing the very first ad. It was not Boulevard, but what was the
It's Legend Series.
Legend Series.
Speedway.
and seeing him coming, I was like, it's never gonna
He's-
fucking work. It's no way. But yeah, and like you said, you had
We do
3 or 4
specific,
widths, and then
specific fitments.
Yeah.
You know, that we tailored to. So we went after the C10 market, the OBS market, the X-frame market, Camaros, you know, Chevelles, whatever, and we have those fitments. We don't want to be everything to everybody, but what car you have, we have the fitment. We have the right fitment for you to work.
yeah,
So, and by the way, we're bringing out a few more. So
sweet.
Nice. Yeah, you say you don't want to be, everything to everybody, but you really do have just about
I know
everything covered.
we're stupid.
I just saw we had a couple of years ago, Jesse Greening did those Grand National wheels.
Yeah.
I mean, they're beautiful wheels, right? Jesse's
Yeah,
he's awesome, and wheels are killer. I mean, you've got wheels that Grand National wheels, they're spot on. I mean,
oh yeah,
they look
they're
really, really
they're
good,
real.
you
I
know?
mean, we scanned the original wheel. We made the windows look like the original
Yeah.
wheel. We do them in 17, 18, and 20. I just bead locked some 17s for a guy. I've been asked to do them in 24. I just had step lip rims built in 22 and 24 inch. So I'm the only guy that's got a 2-piece barrel in 22 and 24.
Nice. What is that line with? Because you've got the Chevelle wheel.
Oh, it's just
got-
called our OE series, or like an original equipment look. So
Yeah, that's all.
it's in there.
That's all pretty killer stuff. How does that do pretty well?
Yeah.
For you guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right in line with what we talked about before, that the
mean,
shit that's coming back that
yeah,
you would
it's-
have never in a million years thought there's a market for.
I know.
It's the market now.
I know. I got a friend of mine that's begging me to build the Grand National steering wheel. Like, I make a solid 3-spoke steering wheel.
Yeah.
We don't need to do it. No, you need to do it exactly like that wheel. You'll sell them. I go, Chuck, keep on moving.
I'm trying to get him to do this C4 Corvette, like the salad shooters,
Oh,
in a OBS fitment.
yeah.
Well, that was what we started
we
with.
We talked about that today. Yeah.
Come on.
The blade wheel, right?
Yeah.
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 Which was, obviously we'd come up with stuff that's impossible and
Right.
not really cost effective to make. But
Yeah, but that was what we wanted
That's
to do.
easy.
Yeah.
That one's easy.
yeah, it's pretty flat.
Yeah,
Right?
it's easy.
A lot of pad on it, but pretty flat.
I got a forging that'll work for that if you want to do it.
Kick ass on
That-
OBS.
Well, I've been jonesing for like a 91 ZR1 white with those wheels.
Upsized. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Be sweet.
We're going to get Glenn like on air saying he committing to all these things so that when I'm ready, we're gonna go back and reference
It was easy.
Please reference 2 hours, 31 minutes.
We'll have that drawn up by next Thursday. We'll send it over to him and see if he's ready. Yeah.
I think going back to the wheel fitment and stance thing, that's kind of almost like your claim to fame and what you've made popular with taking the patinaed cars, slamming them, the right wheels and tires, the right offset, the right stagger. That's, kind of what made you the patina guy back in the day.
Yeah, I looking back at the day, the stuff that caught my attention was like what Scott Sullivan was building back, in the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember being in study hall reading about him driving cross country in that 55. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, how badass is that? And so I've always liked that look. I mean, from my very first cars, I was chopping the springs on them, fitting as big a tire as I can in the back. But in the late '90s, that was kind of my thing. If I had a little time in the shop, I'd go find an old Impala. I'd lower it, put some wheels on it, and it would be like clockwork. It would last. I'd throw it on eBay. It'd last 45 minutes, an hour. Somebody would be calling, I want to buy it right now. I want to buy it right now. And, that's kind of like where the stop, drop, and roll started from. People go, hey, I want to bring you my Impala. I saw yours on eBay. Can you make it look like that? So we would, do the brakes and the suspension and the wheels, and that's how the stop, drop, and roll came about. And
What percentage of 58 to 64 cars have gone through your shop, or you've had a hand in? 75, 80%?
I don't know about that, but there's
90.
several thousand. I mean, there's 100 of them at my shop today. You know what I mean? So, there's thousands in the last 30 years.
I have not met a guy that's come to talk to me about wheels somewhere and that doesn't know who Boris is from Street Machinery.
Every one of our customers. It could be their very first car.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that thing's pretty badass. For this guy in Cleveland, Boris. Yeah, Boris, you know him? Everybody fucking knows Boris. Yes.
They know.
Well, I've been doing this for 60 years. If you count that I do it,
The amount of hours
day,
you
every
put into
day.
it.
So,
What cell service do you use too? Because I mean, that's
You got to
fucker's-
burn that thing up.
I've been watching it. That's the longest you've had that sucker parked. You probably just missed
kinda
like $250,000 in sales.
no, it'll all be there.
Yeah.
I
Let me
follow-
tell you something, Jeremy. When I travel anywhere with this guy and he's in the car, that phone is burning up.
Yeah,
He's driving.
smoking.
He's
We
glued to
sold,
that
we
thing.
sold the bubble top on the way here, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah.
I want to
then-
see your photo organization because I'll send him a text like, hey, you know anybody who's got a 68 Chevy Gold for sale? Yeah, dude, here. Boom. Fuck, I didn't even hit send and I already got it back. There's like 6 pictures. And
I just go off of where did I take that picture? Okay, that was good, guys. Go to July, find the
Yeah.
picture. But yeah, I was just telling Glenn on the way here. I've been trying to every night before I go home. I think about one person that I forget to get back to, and every night I'll contact with that one person and try to make the last sale of the day, whether it's a chassis or a set of wheels or whatever. Instead of waiting until the next day, give the guy a chance to change his mind. I'll shoot him a quote or call him and walk him through something. And it's been working. It's like every day. I think it was like Tuesday. I was going to leave. I said, let me call this guy tonight before I go home. And ended up getting a wheel sale, and there was something else. And the amount of people doing this stuff is unbelievable. And for us not advertising, it's all pretty much social media. I think our business blew up after, I think, 2009, 2010, just because of social media. I still remember my daughter telling me to get on there. I'm like, what am I going to get on there for? Like, oh, you get people to see your cars and stuff. And it's been crazy what it's done to the
You know, I've never made one post on social media, me personally.
Well, I've done maybe a dozen, 2 dozen for myself, but
I've
never
never done
anything
any.
for the.
I've never done anything for
I'm
the
good for
companies myself.
one a year.
Yeah.
I went back through my history and it's one a year average.
I'm still old school. I'm the dinosaur.
2, 3,
You've texted pictures though, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, that we got down.
I do 2,
I'll wear
3
the
posts
phone
a
out,
day.
but I'm not posting on Facebook.
Yeah, I have the tech savviness of like a, what do you think, 75-year-old man?
A 75-year-old man in 1980.
Yeah. They bust my balls constantly. I mean, I can send a text
just-
message. I can send an email.
Yep, me too. But
That's-
that's,
That's
it.
it.
I text like a motherfucker, but that's
That's how
fast.
I am. Yeah,
I mean, I'm
me
telling
too.
you, I send a text fast.
But you know,
Like
You
ain't
got
never
text like
seen
you
it,
ain't
right?
never seen motherfucker text before.
I have never put anything on eBay to sell. Nowhere. I'm ignorant to it all.
So
I don't care.
I did one day. I decided I was like cleaning up a bunch of shit, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna put this stuff on like Facebook Marketplace. This is the
Right.
thing, right? So I'm sitting there. I had like some throttles off of a boat and like some gate and so a couple things like that were just like, well, I don't want to throw them away, and I take a picture of them and I like sold this shit, dude. Like, bam! I'm like, this is a piece of cake.
Yeah.
It's not hard. You know, you guys can laugh at me. It's
No.
a piece of cake.
Hey, let me tell you, I know it's not hard because
The best flex.
Gold star.
yeah, I've got a
Sold.
son that'll take anything that comes through, anything I got laying around, and it's gone. Where'd it go? Don't worry about it. It's all taken care of. You know,
We
and
had
I
a-
walk over by his house and go, where'd you get the money to build that garage?
Don't worry about it.
Sold some stuff.
Yeah, you know, extras. Yeah.
Extras.
We had the opposite growing up. We had a dad who anything you left out there, boom, gone. Where'd it go? Fucking dumpster. It was a brand new bike. I just bought all this shit to build it. It's in the way. Dumpster.
Yeah.
You know who else was like that was Troy's dad, Jack.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when he would have cars over there and they would take parts off cars and, you know, this is all good stuff, trim, different things. He threw all the stuff in the garbage, man. I'm like, Jack, what are you doing? I don't want that shit laying around here.
Yeah.
That shit today is
Old.
thousands of dollars, man. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Yeah. All the trim off Chicane, dumpster.
Great segue, because that was the next thing I was going to ask you is how, first of all, we've talked about this for a season and a half or whatever it is. Chicane, for me, that's my number one car. G-Force Cuda right there below it, but the Chicane for me. So we had Troy on, great episode and stuff. How did that come about and why?
He bought it from Boris, I assume.
No, this car was at Super Chevy. I was down at Super Chevy with a booth, and I went in the swap meet, and the 62 was there. It had 6,500 original miles on it. The lady was the postmaster general in Huntsville, Alabama, that originally owned it. Her grandson got
Roll
the car. This guy brought it. Some guy brought it up to the thing. I paid $6,500 for it. That was probably what,
$1 a mile.
96, 7, something like that. 97 probably. And Troy was up at the shop one day, and I said, you know, Bisquick was Jack's car, right? Had the big block in it, rowdy car, you know. So I said, yeah, I want to do this car. Yeah, we'll do it. This is good. This one will cut good. This one's clean, you know. Okay. So anyway, originally the car was going to be a big block Chevy. Okay. You know, slammed, all that crap. You know, just a nice driver, right? Well, one thing led to another. John Meany's there. They did Meany's Corvette with the twin turbo motor. Hey, Glenn, you got to go for a ride in Meany's Corvette. So I get in the car with John Meany. We go down on the back roads in the cornfields of Mantino, and we're tearing it up. Come back, and Troy goes, G-Bone, we need to do that motherfucker like that. And that was it, Josh. That's where it started. And then the car just evolved. So it was going to be basically a street machine, you know, a nice car. And just kept going to another level and another level, and ended up to Chicane. But that was the life story of that thing.
Fucking absolutely iconic car.
Dude, that car was
awesome.
That car was a game changer. That car was a feature of my dining room for 12 years. I had Super Rod. I was on the cover of Super Rod, and I had my magazine collection in there, and that was always front and center. And I mean, that car was inspiring to.
Yeah.
If you weren't inspired by that as a builder, then you're not a builder worth knowing.
Yeah.
Like that car was so game changing.
Yeah, it was.
I remember seeing it at Indy at their booth underneath the awning, sitting there, and it's just like,
Oh, and that thing came rolling through. That was. I mean,
It's like rolling out of the Adams Mark Hotel and
Yeah.
didn't even know what the fuck you're looking at.
did you roll through and get a Boyd's pick?
It got.
He was usually
I
sitting
will
there
tell you.
shaking
I
the
will
hands
tell
as they
you.
came through.
It got a pick in Indy at the Shades of the Past. It got the Street Machine, whatever the top award was. So I got this big 20-inch forged machine wheel from Boyd. First place, blah, blah, blah. It hangs in my garage. It's on the wall, cut in half. And I'm like, oh, if he could see this ain't
You
good.
you should have melted that down in a machine like a golf cart wheel.
Yeah,
Your golf
I don't
cart.
know. It's there though. It's there. It's hanging on the wall. But yeah, he wasn't happy. You know, so anywhere it went, you know, Troy had to go up there and get an award because nobody else. That wasn't going to happen. You know, back in them days.
That had to be quite the time back then with that thing.
You know, I feel that as long as I've been in this industry, there was the industry. The industry is still good, but the enthusiasm that was at events in the 90s.
It's not like it
And
was.
it is nowhere near what it was. You know, I've gone to Sturgis many, many times too. And, you know, Sturgis 20 years ago is way different than Sturgis is today.
Really?
Oh, yeah. There was more enthusiasm. There was more going on. And I think a lot of it's got to just do with the the demographics of the age group that grew up with choppers and bikes like that. You know, today it's all baggers, which...
But do you not think that they become numb to it after a while because of in the social media? You can
True.
see some of this crazy
Yes.
shit all the
Instant
time. So
gratification.
it's not a wild and, you know, let it loose that once a year when you're like, holy fucking shit, I've never seen this before. I'm
Exactly.
take my shirt off.
And then...
You know,
Is that,
whatever.
is that how it went?
That's Sturgis. We're talking about Sturgis.
And the other thing is, if you've been going to shows as long as I have, and even as long as you guys have, you've seen a lot of... I've seen 90% of these cars I've seen over the last 30 years somewhere, okay?
Right.
So they're not new to me, but they're new to... A newcomer is awed by it, but but not to me. It's just another car, you know. So let's say there's 900 cars in that parking lot. I may stop and look at 10 or 20 of them, whereas somebody else might stop and look at half of them.
Well, it's different that your enthusiasm or our enthusiasm and the scene's enthusiasm and other people. How do you think we get that back at events? You know, I mean, Columbus is pretty damn good.
It is.
You need
The hotel's better than
you-
that.
you-
Well, that's I was going to talk
for-
about.
Hey,
you
not
need-
to-
you
not
need
to-
Troy to build more cars
Yeah.
and have more action at the hotel.
Yes.
Because those are the ones I'm enthusiastic about.
Right.
I hate to say it, but every time that motherfucker brings a car out, you're like,
Yeah.
God damn.
The high caliber
Holy
builds,
shit.
and you got to get that into. Well, going back to Boyd, if you look at what Boyd did in the late '80s and through the '90s, Boyd was cranking out cars, trend-setting stuff. You know, you looked forward to getting Street Router magazine or Sport Truck because there was something featured in there that was. I don't want to say it was out of the norm. It was trend-setting. It was cutting edge at that time, and he was pumping that stuff out, which was great. You know, and it just, there was a different vibe going on at that time. And it's not, I can tell you for sure it's not there anymore.
We were fortunate to catch just the tail end of it. Like the early 2000s, it was still going on. Like you'd go to the Adams Mark and in Indy, and there was like, somebody had their big bus. The side was open. There was a Tyson fight on. There's dudes doing burnouts everywhere.
I think
You
the
know,
burnouts really is
You got
what set it
Bobby
off.
Alloway rolling in the baddest ass cars. Troy's rolling in the chicane. It was like next level. I mean, it was so surreal.
Yeah.
You just don't get that today.
We're all getting old.
Yeah,
That's the problem.
I guess.
There's very few superstars back then. And
Yeah.
there are few guys that were so far above everybody else.
But you know what I will say? I think that the metal work that is done today, though, on the cars like you're doing and these other guys are doing, the metal work, that has grown by huge numbers, guys doing metal work. Back in them days, there were maybe a handful of guys that would build a body or even build panels, you know what I mean, from scratch. Now, you've got guys doing it here. Troy's got guys doing it. They're all over. So that really...
I think that's
kind of
Phil's point. There's so many badasses out there now.
Yes.
There were 10 guys doing it to that level.
Right.
Now there's
There's
1,000.
I don't know. There's a
more,
lot,
but-
but I mean,
Yeah, and then the machining side, like it used to
Sure.
be unobtainable to have a one-off
Yeah,
billet
exactly.
anything, and now
Yeah, you
every
got it.
car at SEMA's got 40
Standard.
one-off
They've
parts
all
on it.
gotten fucking spoiled. Where you walk through it and there's,
yeah,
you know, at first glance you're kind of like, man, I just remember like cars used to be so much more badass back then. But it was not. It was like there was 3 or 4 that were so much more badass
Right.
and everything else kind
they're
of
more.
sucked.
They were
Now
more
it's-
iconic. They
now
were more
it's
noticeable.
A shit ton of badass stuff.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
Just got numb.
yeah.
That's why I love the Survivor cars. They're all
I do
one of
too.
those
Everyone-
different-
That's
I
all
mean,
we look at now.
we-
Like you just look for an original paint, something that
Man,
somebody
that-
hasn't
to
fucked
me-
with. And
I want a building full of those cars. Those are the ones I want.
I could sell you a building that's full of them.
You can,
Yeah.
And I can't.
Boris has got like 6 buildings full.
you know. But I would
They're not
rather
finished.
have. I'd rather have 10 of them than 2 supercars. You know, it's just. Well, look at George Petit. Let's talk about him for a minute. George has built super high-line cars with a lot of great builders. He's let all these people show their wares right building cars. But if you sit down and talk to George, he likes the Survivor cars that he's done with you guys because he ultimately wants to drive them and enjoy them. And the other thing about building some of these cars, if they take 3 and 4 years, man, you got a long time before you ever get them to do anything with them. And if you can get a car done in 6 months, 8 months, it's done and you're enjoying it.
You realize how much shit we got for that, though, doing those cars for George?
You shouldn't have got any shit.
From other customers, you mean?
Other shops and stuff like that. You just get, so yeah, you're doing
Throwing
third,
together.
fourth, fifth car for George, but you're not painting them or anything like that. You're just doing those Survivors, right? Talking down to you and stuff, and be like, oh, you're just in their minds, you're just throwing these cars together, right? If they want to get with George and they want to spend $2 million on designing something for 10 years,
Right.
Like you said, it's kind of like at the end of the day, we were having a great fucking time, and seeing him be happy with a smile on his face and using the cars.
Absolutely.
And
I
I
agree.
I know what you're referring to, and you do too.
Yep.
It changes the game. It changes the game and it makes it an enjoyable hobby because you're actually using the vehicles. I can't stand wiping something down. I do not like.
Yeah, I don't like cleaning them either.
I don't like cleaning anything.
Yeah, it's too detailed.
You want to use it. It's a hobby. It shouldn't be work. You should be out there having fun.
Right.
Enjoying yourself.
I've said too, obviously I have a lot of cars, and some of the cars that I have virtually next to nothing in, I have just as much enjoyment out of driving that as I do anything else. Because I think it's the camaraderie and the people that are into the cars and the times that you share and the stories you talk about. And we can talk about $1 million cars and we can talk about $25,000 cars, but they all serve a purpose. And as long as the guy that owns it is happy with what he's got, that's the important thing.
Yeah, not to beat a dead horse. We've talked about it probably fucking way too many times, but about the road tours, and the amount of Survivor cars that we've taken on those, and whether or not those cars of 15 years ago would have even made the road tour, whether they not or not.
I don't think they would have made it like out of the parking lot at stop one.
Possibly not, but even if they would have, those cars are just not built to do that. And the whole time, you're not enjoying the scenery, and you're not enjoying the conversation, and you're not fucking around with each other, whatever, because you're worried about every single bug and every single rock chip, or if that chrome bumper that you fit so tight at this speed is probably rubbing a little paint or rattling or something like that, and you're not having fun. You're thinking that you're destroying the car.
Correct.
And that's not the most fun we've had in this fucking industry. Has been driving those things cross country
Absolutely.
and doing what we've done together.
You talked about Sturgis. If you look at Sturgis, right, it was about driving your motorcycle and riding there and doing it. It wasn't about polishing a $100,000, $150,000 custom bike. Because as well as I do, that thing ain't going to make it from here to downtown Sturgis out of
sure you can do
Deadwood
it
sometime.
comfortably.
Right, exactly. So get your Harley, make some modifications to it or whatever, but you want the drivability and you want to be able to use it. And it's about having a good time, not being on the side of the road pissed off because the foot peg fell off or this didn't work or something, So I'm all for the Survivor Series. So to me, it's, I can appreciate the Highline cars, but I'm with Jeremy here. I don't want to wax and polish all day.
Oh, yeah.
I do not want to do it.
That.
So, and if we get some chips in it, or who gives a shit? Let's just keep driving.
A little bit of character.
Goes right along with the other ones that were there. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you drive the most out of the collection
Out
of
of my
cars you have?
cars,
Or probably your Chevy pickup truck.
I was going to go to 2019 Tahoe.
yeah, there you go. I drive a 32 Roadster. As far as a hot rod would go, I'll drive that one. And then honestly, I'll get in a car like the 66 El Camino that's just a stock car with a set of 17-inch wheels on it, just go to a cruise night.
Yeah.
Once in a while, I'll drive the 55 Chevy that Troy did and
That's a
whatnot.
badass car.
That's a real, nobody's really even seen that car. That car is,
It's
It's
been,
gotta
it's
come
been a
back
little
out.
low key. That's a
it's
Itching
very
car.
low key.
Yeah.
That car is beautiful. That car runs
Yeah.
great, but those would probably be the ones that I drive the most. The 32 Roadster, the 55, and then taking El Camino out or just a average type car and drive.
What's your personal go-to right now?
I got a 200,000 mile G8 with the badass LS in it, and I just beat the fuck out of it. It's my favorite thing to drive right now. In the summer, I drive a little 67 pickup truck. And just whatever I need to drive. We're constantly, problem we have is everyone's so busy, customer cars don't get driven. So summertime, I'm constantly driving customer cars, just put miles on them before we give them back. Or if I have something for sale, somebody will go, "How's the transmission shift?" Oh, I've never driven it before.
Right.
So I'll put some miles on some of the cars that are for sale. But hopefully this summer I'm finishing up a bubble top. That'll be my go-to this summer. 62 bubble.
I always say I'm going to drive them, but I don't.
heavily patinaed pickup.
My red one.
Oh, white one.
Oh, the white one.
Well, I don't know if it was
Well,
white anymore.
no,
but-
it's yeah, that's a new one that I'm building, but I've had to give up the chassis 3 times now. So I've ordered 3 chassis for it, but somebody's needed them, and a sale comes first. Customer always comes
Boris
first.
came by my place today, and I had pallets of wheels that I had taken to my building across the street where I keep all my cars. And I showed him to Boris. I said, I had to literally build wheels for my cars because they don't have wheels on it. Because during COVID, hey, you want to sell me the wheels off that 59? Hey, you want to sell me the wheels off this? And they're gone, okay? And I ain't got nothing on half of my stuff for the most part, of the cars that I would want to drive, okay? So I wrote up a bunch of wheels and I built them. My guys in the back are like, what are all these wheels? I go, just get them built, okay? and they're going across the street and nobody's touching them. They're under
Got
lock
no
and key.
customer name on the PO or anything.
No,
like
it
that.
says senior. That's what it says, and that's where they're going to. So, but anyway, yeah, it's you're like the shoemaker. You're the last guy
Yeah.
to get it.
The owner's got to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got one vehicle in the shop that's been hanging there for almost 2 years. The Roadster shop spec chassis. We've been trying to get done for ourselves, but you just can't. You can't prioritize it. It'll get done when it gets done.
A lot of people ask me, well, why don't you build some stuff for your cars or one-off parts? We don't have time.
Yeah.
You got to service the customer base.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's still a few cars I'd like to do.
You don't need to take a break or anything like that? Anybody need to use the restroom? If we're good, we can go.
We can keep going, man.
All right. Just giving, before I started. Your very first car was a Camaro?
No, my very first car was a 77 Monza. I got it when I was 14. And first car I ever worked on.
Kind of like a Camaro.
Yeah, I would have gone with
Like
Camaro.
a little one.
Yeah.
It's just like a smaller Camaro.
Somebody
Smaller
gave,
Corvette.
Somebody gave it to me. It had like no miles on it. Some friend of my parents. Well, he bought it brand new, gave it to me, and that's when I first realized that firing orders were important. I was doing a tune-up on it, and I'm like, oh, this wire, it'll fit better if I put it over here. And
It says it right there on the intake manifold.
Yeah, so
in case
How
you're
long, was,
wondering.
how long was turning it over before you realized that?
my dad's friend stopped by, and he goes, you can't just take them all off and just put new ones on wherever you want. And so then I had to go back and figure out, but I got it.
No, but they're all hooked up. I made sure.
Yeah. So I remember I got my driver's license 7 days after my birthday. It was the Bon Jovi tickets were going up for sale, and we went at midnight the next day after I had my driver's license. One day, we went up to the Richfield Coliseum and waited for the box office. Waited in line, get the key. We got the tickets. That night, I was doing donuts in a parking lot. Smacked the curb, folded the suspension under it, and told them at the junk the car. Literally had my license one day.
There you go.
That was my first car. My first hot rod was a 68 Chevelle. I used to go to the public library and I would pull newspapers that were a year old, and I would get the classifieds out of a year-old newspaper, and I'd look up cars, and there was a 68 Chevelle, $2,700. I called the guy. I said, hey, I know it's a long shot, but you had a Chevelle for sale a year ago. He goes, yeah, I still got it. He goes, as a matter of fact, I got to get it out of my garage like right now. He sold to me for like $1,000. A rust-free 68 Chevelle.
How many of them would you like to own today?
Shit.
We had,
So you're letting everybody in on your secrets. I feel like you're still using that.
do they still have libraries? Do they still have classifieds in the newspaper?
But now you just visit like the old folks' homes.
I think
Yeah.
Good Guys still has classifieds at the end of the.
Yeah,
they do.
They do.
Yeah.
That was I took it home and blew it apart. The only thing I had some guys help me with the wiring on it. The wiring was all jacked up, so I had some guys help me with the wiring. And just as I got it back, that's when I found my Trans Am. I was like, okay, the Chevelle's got to go. So I sold the Chevelle, had the Trans Am it was a 400 4-speed. Had it for same thing about a week. Blew the motor. So that was the first engine I rebuilt. Was that 400 in that Pontiac, and it wasn't too long after that just got into, the more of the look of the car, the aesthetics, where everything I'd buy, I'd hammer it on the ground, put the wheels on it. And pretty much how the shop got started.
What's the longest you've owned a car for?
I've had my 97 Tahoe, my 96 Tahoe. I've had it since 97.
That's the black and silver two-tone one.
Yeah, Mark worked it from Sunset Road.
It work paint that?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. I've owned it since 97. So
Denali front end on it, doesn't it?
I put a Denali front end on it in 2000, but I kept the original front end. It's hanging on a wall, so I might put that back on.
Yeah, Warwick painted my 97 short bed, the red flamed one.
Really?
Foose did the rendering and Warwick painted it.
And I haven't seen Mark in a while.
Yeah.
I
I haven't
talked
I
to
either.
haven't been out to Texas.
Yeah.
Good guys.
Yeah, I talk to them
Sometime.
all the time. I just bought a bubble top from them.
Yeah.
What was your first car?
My Deuce 5 window.
At 14?
Yeah, so
Where'd you find that thing?
City
He
of
bought
Chicago.
it new from the fucking dealership.
Yeah,
That's how fucking old he is.
that it was in the
Henry Ford
Right down at the Ford dealer, downtown
adver-
Chicago.
advertised in the Chicago Sun-Times newspaper. Guy had an ad in the Sunday paper, and I saw it. I called him, and he said, "I'm opening the garage door at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning." So the paper come out on Saturday night, right? Got the paper. He said, "I'm opening the garage at 6 in the morning. I've had so many phone calls. Whoever gets here, whatever." So he was asking $1,500 for it. It was a body with a frame, no floor in the body, firewall, had the garnish moldings.
Did you have the cash ready to go?
Oh, yeah. So I told my dad he had to take me down there. So we go down the north side of Chicago. He opened the garage door. And I said, "Okay, I'll take it." Went back the next day with a buddy of mine with a trailer and hauled it back. And my influence was from my cousin and one of his best friends, Jim Roth, who was a body paint man, and he also did interior work. And Jimmy Roth had a 41 Willys. And I was hanging around with my cousin and Jimmy a long time, and that's how I got influenced into hot rodding, was through Jimmy. And Jimmy passed away, I think it's about 6 years right now. But that was the influence. So we did that car in his garage, and we painted it, and did the interior, all of that stuff. And that's how it all started. So I was bit by it young.
Is that the same car, that the green one with the
Yes,
flames that
that's
Brizio
it.
did? So you've had that.
49 years.
Damn.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of those cars where you talk about, a lot of kids in it. I guess that was one of those as a young boy when you had the Testarossa or the Countach on the wall.
Yeah.
I also had that car that I remember that poster,
Yeah, Kuhn
on the
did.
wall. It was
Yeah.
in a magazine. It was what do they call that? The
Yeah.
fucking
Pull out.
Fold out.
Yeah, pull out.
That car was absolutely sick.
So then, so that car, when Brizio did it, we put a 514-inch big block Ford in it.
You
that
are a
Angelo
big
gave.
block.
Do you
It's
own
not
an
in there.
LS? Anything?
Yeah, there's an LS in a Camaro. There's an LS in a 65 pickup. Those are the
I thought
only
you would
two
have
I
rubbed
think
off
of.
a lot more on him now.
You
Gets
just talk
insensitive.
about it when we were at the shop. He goes,
Yeah.
"Yeah, I want to put an Ellis in this El Camino."
Yeah, I want to put an LS in that 59. Another post. Oh, no, I got an LS in another 59. So I got three now. But anyway, it started with a 514-inch when Ford first released that motor. So we put that in there. But about 4 years ago, I sent the car back to Brizio, and we put a 427-inch Roush fuel-injected motor in it. So since that's done, I put about 50 miles on it.
Getting after it.
I'm getting after it. And then, then it went to 68 Camaros after that car and 66 Chevelles. And then I had a 70 Rally Sport Camaro with a big block blower, Dyer blower on it back when I was 19. I had issues.
Where was the place to go street racing back then?
You'd go to Duke's over in Bridgeview, and then from there they'd go out to 107th Street, or they'd go 159th and Bell Road and run. Yeah.
Best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Best piece of advice.
I'm going to give you a piece of advice for this. Is going to talk into the mic.
Okay.
Just so everybody else can hear the piece of advice.
Well,
Might not be the best, but it's pretty relevant.
probably they said in business there's two important things that you should know, and one of them was don't give away all your secrets.
Well done. Well done.
What about you? Best piece of advice?
Never sacrifice the quality of your product. Always build a top-notch product, and you'll never be hurting for work.
Who told you that?
My father. Your reputation is based on what you produce. So
That's cool.
Don't ever sell short on quality. Do it right the first time.
And I'll say, not to get chummy, but out of all the guys in the industry, you're the guy that I look to the most, that I admire as far as where you're at, what you've done, and how you've done it, and your attitude towards it. So sometimes it's interesting. You'd be surprised at like just being you, the effect that you have on people out there, because you never know. You never know who you're going to inspire.
I always said this coming up in the industry, I never want the limelight. I'm not a person that wants to be the center of attention. I always said back in the day when Boyd was worried about competition and the ego and the image and all that, I said, you know what I am? I'm that mouse in the corner, and every time I come out, I take another piece of that cheese. And before long, I'm going to have a big piece of that cheese, and you're not even going to know where I came from. Do you know to this day, I have never let anybody in my shop to do a shop tour of my shop that I'm in today?
Really?
There was Haas Machinery wanted to come in and do a big article for me in their magazine, and I said no. They go, why? I go, nobody needs to know what I'm doing. I'm cool with what I do. I don't need to know that.
You keep a low profile, man.
Tremendous amount of respect from us, and I'm sure just about everybody else in the industry as well.
I'll tell you a quick story. Vic Edelbrock came to see me years ago, and we were, of course, we buy all his water pumps, for our pulley systems and whatnot. And we're talking, and he walks into my shop, and he goes, holy shit, I had no idea you're this big. And he asked me a question. He goes, how many machines do you have? And I don't know, at the time it was like 35. He goes, you got more than me. I said, what? He goes, you have more than me. He goes, what was your first CNC? I said, no, Kuma. 4-axis lathes. I go, we had those. He goes, mine was an Acrolock. They were made in Phoenix, right? I said, really? He goes, yeah. So we started talking machine tools and different things, but total respect, for that man, and he had total respect for me and what I had done because he had no idea. And to this day, most people do not know the size of Billet Specialties when they come through the door and see what's going on there.
No, it's
Holy
mind-blowing.
shit.
Yeah.
But I never, I do what I do because I like what I do. Right. And, if anybody ever wants to come by for a tour, we'd be more than happy to show them what
Don't
we do.
bring a camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, we went through Edelbrock on one of the road tours.
The carburetor factory.
The carburetor
Speaking
facility.
of mind blowing.
That was mind-blowing in a different kind of way.
Yeah.
They have machines that, like, I stood at this machine. I don't even know what you'd call it, but I feel like I'm in a 1930s nuclear submarine.
Like an old,
What do you even call it?
It'd be like an old organ. It's like a 4-man.
There's like
Machine?
47 different heads on
A screw machine.
well, they're all
A Swiss
mechanical.
screw.
It's all
Or
mechanical.
Swiss
Is
screw
that what you
machines,
call that?
yeah. Doing the carburetor parts?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably Swiss screw machine. You ever go through Iskandendrian cams?
No.
I had the opportunity to go through there. That's probably 10, 12 years ago. And Ed took us through. He has his original cam grinder, the #1 machine, and it still runs, and he still uses it every day.
Damn. I mean, that's
And
a
I think-
machine from like the 40s.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Jesus.
I think Ed's 101 years old right now. I'm pretty sure, yeah. And I went to dinner with him back in Indianapolis at PRI probably 10 years ago as well, maybe a little less. And he was in his early 90s, and he was on 0 medication. 0. Smoked cigars, chews them, and he says, I go out for a pastrami sandwich every single day for lunch.
Good for him.
It's like the
very-
grandpa from Grumpy Old Men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't change it either.
Yeah. He's he's got it. But he told me how he started making cams. He was probably World War I. He came back and he had a roadster that he was building. He went to a cam guy to do a grind on a cam. And if I remember correctly, he said the guy would not let him in the shop to show him how he grew a cam. So he's like, well, this can't be too difficult. I'm going to figure this out. And he pioneered it and went out there and started doing camshafts.
He's got an amazing story. Remember years ago that at Indy they used to do, what was the show before it moved out to California? There was the HRI did a thing there with like the Golden Builder, but they did it was like
not the Wally.
It's not PRI at the time. PRI was there, then it went to Orlando, then it came back.
it was not PRI, but what was the one with the where they do the magazine sales and shit like that? Anyway,
NMC.
MPM,
MPM,
whatever,
An abbreviation.
Whatever it is.
Couple letters.
They're giving Ed an award. This was probably 15 years ago, and they had a breakfast there and stuff like that. And
Oh, yeah.
MPMC.
I know what you're talking
so
about.
he's supposed to do like a little 20-minute,
Yeah.
thank you thing. I think he went on for an hour and a half, just telling the story, and it was like awesome. Like the amount of stuff, and I mean how he got started, and it just even how, and this was 15 years ago.
I'll tell you another thing. So I'm in Indy 5 years ago, and I'm going back to the hotel after the PRI show, and he's sitting in the lobby. Now, Ed's met me 4 times, maybe in his life, and he looks at me and goes, I know you. I'm like, how in the heck does he remember me? I'm not a cam customer, He's like, I went to dinner with you and so-and-so and so-and-so. I said, yeah. I go, how you doing? And he goes, I'm doing good. My hands get a little cold, he says, over here in this weather, and that's it. And he was getting ready to go to dinner, but he remembered. Then I saw him out at the Roadster show in Pomona before COVID, and he was signing his books. So I went over there to get a book, and as soon as I walked up, he recognized me again.
Wow.
So I mean, he's 98 maybe at this point. It's pretty sharp, man.
Damn.
To remember all these people.
I meet somebody, I can't remember their fucking name 2 seconds.
Yeah, me
later,
too.
Good for him.
How many places do you go and people walk up and you go, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, who the hell is that? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I'm terrible with like names.
There's so many people.
Good to see you, guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's Buddy.
Who's that?
Talking about earlier, called everybody Buddy. With a 32 Roadster, he walked through the shop. Hey, buddy, how you doing, buddy? Oh, buddy, what's going on? So everybody was buddy, so you didn't have to remember anything but one name.
Yeah.
one of the funny things that shows sometimes, you'll be sitting there by the trailers or whatever you're working, and a guy will walk up and say, hey, is Glenn there? And I'll be over there by the back of the trailer, and whoever's working at the booth will say, yeah, why? I'm a good friend of Glenn's, and I need that or this, what kind of deal are you going to give me? I said, turn around and go, he's standing right there. Oh, it's funny.
Oh, yeah, it's been a while. I don't want to bug him.
Yeah. But, yep.
Best SEMA story.
I already told you one about Lobeck. I already told you all that one. Well, I can tell you another story. So Troy, he likes to drink his beer, and my buddy JW likes to drink vodka. So him and JW had a drinking contest. It started at the bar at the Hilton, and it was going to go till the first one bowed out. Well, I think JW had 28 vodkas, okay? And it was about 4 in the morning.
It's
at
like
the
a
alarm.
bottle of vodka.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a bottle.
Troy had beers like this cradling his arm because he couldn't hold them. As fast as JW was drinking them, the vodka was giving him another beer. Right? So Troy comes walking in the restaurant, we're going to eat breakfast, and he trips over the stairs. He's got shorts on. He's got rug burns on his knees. He goes, oh, shit, what's Angie going to think when I get home? He ditched out. But we got another Boyd story at SEMA if you want to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
So this is at the time Boyd's going public. And Brad Fanshaw, who was working for Boyd at the time, I was helping him go public. My booth was here, World Racing was here, and Jimmy Smith from Ultra Wheel, he was there. And at one time, Boyd was, he had his casting foundry set up, and I guess Jimmy from Ultra was throwing him a little bit of work, So anyway, Boyd was on one of his rages again, you know. So he comes over to my booth and, yeah, I want to talk to the owner. Okay, that's me. And he goes on one of his rampages about, you know, wheels and this and competition, whatever. And so, you know, we have our words back and forth, and he leaves my booth, and he goes over to Weld Racing to see Greg Weld. Now, Greg Weld's been in the wheel business long before Boyd was ever in the wheel business, okay? And he's in there, and Greg's talking to a customer. And I can see it. It's, you know, they're like 40 feet away. And finally, Boyd butts in, and he says, I'm looking for Greg Weld. That's me. He says, you know, you're making wheels and this and that, and I don't know what the fuck you think you are or whatever. Greg turns, I'm sorry, let me back up. I'm looking for Greg Weld. Greg Weld was talking to somebody, and the gentleman says, he's over here. He says, he'll be with you in a minute. So he hears Boyd badgering this guy. Greg stops his conversation with the vendor that was in his booth. He turns around to Boyd, and he goes, Boyd Connington, Greg Weld, go fuck yourself. Okay, right? And it starts, right? So now Boyd leaves there with Brad, and Greg comes over to me. And he says, what the fuck was he doing over here in your booth? I said, he was bitching about us making wheels. He goes, yeah, same thing by me. Fuck him. Who the fuck does he think he is? Blah, blah, blah. So now Jimmy Smith, who was Ultra Wheel, was a big company at this time, you know? So anyway, Boyd had stepped on Jimmy's toes one day with some comments. So Jimmy shows up at SEMA, and he's got 5 of Boyd's wheels knocked off. Okay? Boyd goes to his booth, just like he came to ours, and he's walking around the show. He's going to everybody's booth, you know? So he gets Jimmy Smith in the booth, and he tells him, why you copied my fucking wheels? Jimmy goes, yeah, I did. He says, those wheels look like my wheels. He goes, oh, Boyd, don't misunderstanding. They are fucking identical to your fucking wheels. Okay? He said, they're exactly like your fucking wheels. He goes, but before you start pissing off people in this industry, you better figure out who you're pissing off, because you ain't nothing next to me. He says, and I'll copy as many more fucking wheels as I want. Okay? He said, a leopard don't change its spots, Boyd. Just remember that. You heard it right out of my voice, my mouth. Damn. That was an interesting story back in the day.
Shit. Yeah, that's pretty heavy.
The wheel
Yeah,
business.
the wheel business is
Make model drug dealers.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
it
the
gets
wheel, the
pretty.
billet parts in general. I mean, how do you deal with that? Because you get it, man. There is a lack of creativity from up and comers that just. I've seen so many things that I'm like, well, that's a direct knockoff of what Billet
it's
Specialties
all-
is doing.
You
You
know,
just let that roll.
Yeah, China knocks. I don't even care anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's flattery. I mean, you know, just what are you going to do?
You're not going to make up the same phone call and say you don't like competition.
No, I
You're
don't
not
do
gonna
it. You know what?
I mean, that's a
what?
very
Yeah,
interesting
Chinese.
approach.
I mean, you
to-
just, just focus on what you're doing and just fuck it.
Yeah, honestly, just you know, that's another thing that my dad always told me. Don't stay focused on what you're doing, because back in the day when I would get these phone calls from Boyd, he goes, "Don't worry about what the fuck he's doing. Pay attention to what the fuck you're doing, and just stay focused on what you're doing. Ignore him. Don't even worry about it, and you will come out where you want to be." You know. So on the accessory side, you know, it's if it's a widget, you know, and it doesn't take a lot to copy it. So when we bought a scanner, right, to scan surfaces and to break parts and whatnot, you know, when the guy came in to sell us that scanner, right, he told us, you know, for every one of these I sell in the United States, I sell 5 in China. So what does that tell you? You know, and then they're buying your product, scanning it, and sending it back, you know, and it's just the way it is, you know, so accept it and move on. I think, too, the first that innovates something or builds something wins anyway, because you know where it started.
Yep.
Or who's producing
It's always
it.
a copy of.
Yes, of what it is.
You're building the brand that the
yes.
people a lot of times are buying the
Right.
brand, and that's holding the value.
And I think, you know, Billet Specialties brand is worth something.
Yep.
And, you know, if you know, it's just like me let's just say I want to get into some form of the wheel market that we're not really into. And there's a a large manufacturer who builds a quality product, and you're going to go in there and say you're going to build nothing but wheels for Lambos or Ferraris. Just because you build a quality product, don't mean you're going to walk in there and kick their ass, because their brand holds value.
Yep.
And nobody's going to come in here and beat you guys up either. That brand holds a lot of value. Sure. You've got a lot of time and engineering in this product. So they can scan everything they want to scan, but you know what? We know who did it.
Yep.
First and who's doing it. So,
That's a good out.
you know,
Yeah.
it's, the brand, your brand is done a good job
Still
building
be nice
it.
to clock somebody every now and then.
Oh, it is. I got a buddy of mine. He'd have no problem knocking anybody out that you wanted to right there if that's what it was, you know. Let's settle this an eye for an eye, pal. That's the way it goes, you know.
What about you? Best SEMA story or any car show story?
I've never been to SEMA before.
Get out of here.
been?
Never
Oh,
been to
really?
SEMA.
Never SEMA?
Never. My daughter's birthday was right always that weekend. So when she
Damn.
was growing up, I was always. And then as I got, there's really no reason for me to be there.
Well, car show
You're full of
stories. Then I
shit.
mean, damn, you've been at every. You've
One
been
of
at every show there is.
Hey, this guy's a legend. He hasn't had to spend any money on a booth. He hasn't had to buy any ads.
Yeah.
And he's got more money than all of us sitting at this table.
Yeah,
I know
right,
it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Sure.
So, you know what, Jeremy? He is the winner.
Oh, yeah. There's no
I
question
mean, look,
about that. Man.
he's buying all your chassis. Who else is buying all your
I
chassis?
look at him and I'm like, man, dude's making more money than we are.
Yeah.
Selling our chassis. Like, good for him, but good for him. You know, if he wants to fucking buy them and he wants to put his neck out there and fucking
And every
sit on the
day-
end, good.
You got how many employees here and how many aggravation, how much shit you got to deal with, and then all the engineering drawings and all the bullshit, and tweak this, make a change, make an adjustment, make a revision. And this guy's like, send it.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, one of
He
the,
might not look it, but he might be smarter than all of us, huh?
He's not stupid. That's for damn sure.
I'm gonna say one of the best stories was what Glenn already said about changing the wheels in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And,
I've heard that about you from like 20 different people. I never knew it was a car you sold to Glenn.
Yeah.
No, I didn't
Well,
buy the car. He was selling the car.
Yeah, I sold
I
it.
wanted to
I
say,
sold
You
it
wanted the
to
wheels?
Kurt Cunningham. Wanted to take it home with him because his buddy in Kansas City wanted it. So I had already bought another car. That makes it easy for me. So yeah, here, just take it. I need my wheels back, so I swapped
but the
them.
kicker was the bumper jack with the tire iron out of the chunk.
Yeah.
Jacking it up. Okay.
that's
I mean, floor jacks were around at this time. And it was easier to do. And if he would have asked me, I would have went to the trailer and got him one to do it. But he was
Yeah, the
well
old
on his way. I think he was on the
T
last
tire
wheel.
iron spinning it.
Yeah.
Damn.
I'm like, what are you doing? Oh, I got to take the wheels off, man.
No,
what?
we need two sets of those wheels out here running
Yeah.
around. Let that set
I
go,
think
let me
I
get you
told him,
another
I said,
set.
I get you all those you want. This ain't a museum, man. You just let me know what you need.
That-
And let me tell you, he started buying wheels and buying more wheels, and more wheels. But no, it's a good relationship, and everything's built on relationships. I'm still old school, you know. When you've got friends, and if you're wording and you go, what is it? You know, I mean, you got to stand up for what you want to do and believe in, and take care of the customer. You know, if he calls me up and say, hey man, the two wheels are damaged, I don't need to tell Boris. You need to send me a picture. You need to just tell me what the hell we need to do to replace the two wheels that got damaged or something. You know, some people are full of shit, and others aren't.
Yeah, you can tell pretty quick.
Yeah. So
Yeah, in this whole industry, anybody that's full of shit, everybody knows about it, and everybody else, just like you said.
Who would you say those people are? Like if you had to,
I'm gonna write a book.
I'm taking a page out of Josh's
I was
book
waiting.
here.
I got another story for you though out of SEMA.
I'm gonna write a book about the people that I don't deal with anymore and the reason. I'm just waiting.
What would be the
Thanks,
first
Facebook
chapter?
page. Yeah, Facebook page.
Does any of you guys know Fat Jack?
No.
I know who
Oh,
you're
shit. I got a couple stories about Jack. So one year we're in Columbus, Ohio, and Boyd's there. And back in the day, I mean, Boyd would bring a truck full of T-shirts, guys. A truck full, box truck, right? And sell T-shirts. That's how hot the marketplace was back then. You know, you go now, if you sell 50 T-shirts, you know, it's a shit ton, okay?
Unless you're Kindig.
Yeah, well, that's TV.
Yeah, Dave's sending some.
Yeah, that's
Some
TV,
shirts.
man.
Yeah, good guys used to have a line, the 53 feet of the semi and 20 deep.
Yep. So anyway, Jack is there. He's got this big old thick beard, you know, and he knew Boyd. His shop was down the street in Stanton, California as well. And Jack and John Butero were also buddies back in the day. They owned Ultra Cars. So Fat Jack's eating an Italian sausage sandwich, right, with red sauce. And he walks up to Boyd's booth, and he's eating this sausage sandwich. And he's got this red sauce in his beard. He grabs a fucking T-shirt off the table and goes, fuck you, right? Fuck you. Throws it down, and Boyd's MFing him, and whatnot. Yeah, that was one story, okay? And then I'm at the SEMA show coming out of the Hilton, going past the bar in the old days when it was there, and Fat Jack is there, and he's talking to another buddy of mine from California, and he had never met me. And so he knew that Boyd was always bitching about me or whatever. So this buddy of mine says, hey, Jack, I want to introduce you to somebody. Yeah, what's up? Fat Jack Robinson. I go, Glenn, where are you from? I go, Billet Specialties. He turns around and goes, holy fuck. This is the dude that needs a wheelbarrow to bring his balls through this joint. He goes, nice to meet you, man. That's how it went. That was a SEMA story.
Damn.
Then there's another story that Chuck Lombardo at California Street Rod had years ago. So Chuck had some kind of...
He's still around.
He's in Pennsylvania. He moved back there. He's originally from the Pittsburgh area.
That was a huge name.
Yeah.
For a long time.
And he's not doing real well from what I'm told. I think he's got some dementia going on. Sure. But anyway, he was having like an open house or something, and Boyd at the time was driving. This is 1985. So the Lincoln LSC Mark 7s or 5s or whatever they were out in them days. And I can remember Boyd's car. He had a set of 16-inch billet wheels on it, and lowered it. It had air suspension, so it was easy to lower. And he came there, and Boyd's inside, and Jack goes up to him, and he says, hey, Jack, Boyd, I need to move your car. Boyd throws him the keys. Jack goes outside, and him and Boyd were always going at it. He pulls that Lincoln up against the building. This buddy of mine was there. He says, puts it against the building, puts the pedal to the fucking mat, sticks it, gets out of the car, closes the fucking door, and burning the tires off the back. Off the tires gone, on the rims, grinding grooves in the fucking parking lot. Goes inside, he says, Boyd, I think there's something going on with your car out there. You better go check it out. Nuts, man. That's
shit.
told to me from Chuck Lombardo.
We don't do any cool shit.
That's what I'm thinking right now. I'm like, we suck.
Yeah.
We suck.
This summer is going to be
our
bad.
generation.
Redemption.
And Phil's thinking to himself, he's like, God, I wish you wouldn't say this
Yeah.
shit because these two morons are going to be doing
That's why I
this.
asked earlier if you can get away with this shit nowadays. And he said
These
no.
guys back then, all these guys were in their 40s back then, not 65.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of
not
fun.
65.
I mean, I used to go out, me and Brizio, I carried Roy Brizio in Kalamazoo, Michigan. It was his 32nd birthday. He was so drunk. We got him so drunk. I threw him over my shoulder like a sack of potatoes, carried him up the elevator, carried him to his room, threw him in his bed, put the garbage can next to his bed. He didn't show up the next day till 2 o'clock. He's walking through the show, and Wings is broadcasting, for the NSRA.
Wings.
And he goes, glad you could make it, Roy. You still look a little green today, across the whole PA system. And Roy, we had another story, me and Roy, out in San Francisco. I went to visit him in 2003 or 4. And we went down to the cafe in town. They were famous for Irish coffees. And we were out there all night hooping it up. And he went home. Steve Coonan was with us. So the next day, I get up and I go to Roy's shop, and he's not there. Roy's a guy. He's there at 6:30 every morning. He shows up at 1:30 in the afternoon. He calls me up. He said, you son of a bitch, don't ever come back to San Francisco. I'm never going out with you again. He said, I was sick I can't even move. I can't even function. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, But me and him had a lot of good times, too.
Yeah, we got through those years. We were partying pretty hard for a little while there.
Yeah.
Like we're getting old. We're hitting that age now.
Yeah. It just happens.
Yeah.
There'd be, there's even this last SEMA. There was nights we were in at like 10:45, finish up a drink, and you're like, I guess it's time to go to bed.
Everybody's gone. I look forward to Columbus because people are out in the parking lot.
Yeah.
That's the only show
Yeah.
that kind of goes on. You go to Louisville to the Street Rod Nationals, that shit don't go on no more down there.
It used to be like,
Yeah,
mad.
I had Danny Burrows, old Danny. He's there one night. It's me, him, Jack Trepanier. I don't know who else was with it. And Danny was frickin' hammered, right? He's bent over, head against the wall, and he's pissing in a plant in the lobby of the hotel, the headquarters hotel.
Well, that's,
And then he's
sounds like
imitating
an average night.
Yeah, and he's imitating George. I'm George Patina.
I can see Danny.
Oh man, he was so fucked up. You know,
Louisville used to be
Oh, it was
we'd be
off
out
the hook,
off.
dude.
Yeah.
anytime that I had gone to a NSRA event, Good Guys event through the 80s and early 90s, we were never in the hotel before 4 a.m.
Yeah.
Ever. And we were back at the fairgrounds at 8 o'clock. That was all of us. That was me, Brizio, and any of them.
Yeah, because you're afraid somebody's going to come by and start tapping on the fucking
No
wrist.
shit.
Oh,
We got to get the band back together.
Yeah, we grew up doing that. I mean, all the shows we were we were partying our asses up between, all the Good Guys stuff, the NSRA stuff, and SEMA. I mean, we were doing that 2, 3, 4 in the morning every night. So you go out, we get like a new sales guy, and it's like we're trained. We're
Right.
basically professionals.
Exactly.
At
It's some
this point.
fucking endurance.
Yeah, and
Yes.
you'll bring out, like, you take on a new sales guy, and it's like 10 o'clock at night. This dude's hammered drunk, right? He's making a fool out of himself, throwing up, doing something, who knows what. And, like, you're just accustomed to it. It's not something to brag. It's probably not a great thing.
Go
It's
to
not a bad
the
thing.
week of SEMA, we'd be out there the week. I don't think you'd sleep 3 hours a night
No.
for
Yeah.
the whole week.
I don't.
mean,
think
that's the way
these
it
new-
was.
I don't think these new new shops and younger guys coming up. I don't think they do it that way anymore.
Oh, we don't do it that way anymore.
Well, of course, we're older.
Yeah.
You gotta, but I mean,
10 years ago, like SEMA, you were in bed at 5 and then back.
Yeah.
We're
on the
not
show
even
floor
in,
at
not
7.
even in bed.
Absolutely.
just come to the show in the same.
You'd sometimes go in there, take an hour and take a shower and leave again.
Yeah.
Be
Oh,
gone.
we did that plenty of times.
yeah.
Yeah, now it's like, it's 9:45.
I can
I'm,
remember rolling down to Knoxville, Tennessee to the mini nats for the NSRA. Get there Thursday night to be a kickoff party, okay, at a hotel. I can remember being in there with Lobeck and Brizio and these guys. I mean, shit faced, okay.
I'd heard stories about Lobeck and Skip Walls and how long they could drink, and I don't think anybody could outdrink them.
Yeah, Barry was almost. Then Barry would take his teeth out, his false teeth out, and he'd be working the trailer the next day, and you could just tell he didn't have his teeth, and he'd be over there, fucking. He was a character, man. How about being in Kalamazoo, Michigan? I got a few stories in that town.
yeah, that sucks in general right there.
Yeah. So I'm with Bob Davison from Outlaw Performance back in the day, okay? And that guy was a craftsman, believe it or not. Have you ever met this guy?
The fiberglass Willie's
Yeah,
bodies.
but Bob is very talented, okay? And me and him became good friends, And so, Bob's a biker. He's burly, big dude. And Judy, his wife, was a great lady. We're in the bar, and the guy's throwing Judy out of the bar, right? Because she called the bartender a fucking pussy. Give me another drink. Or, hey, bitch, give me another drink. Oh, you got to go, bitch. You're out of line. She wasn't out of line. He was whatever they were doing. So now Bob's in there, and Bob's, he looks right through you, Hey, sir, come over here. 3 state trooper, police officers coming. He goes, you want me? Come get me. The bar's packed like this, elbow to elbow. He goes, I ain't coming out. You want me? Come fucking get me. And this little police officer's looking at him like, I ain't fucking going. Because Bob goes, when you come here to get me, this joint's going to be fucking destroyed. I guarantee you I'm going to wreck this fucking bar. Okay? So, long story short, this goes on for 45 minutes. Finally, Bob walks over like, what's the problem? He goes, you're getting out of the hotel. We're kicking you out. He goes, kicking me out for what? What did I do? I did nothing. You come over here. You want my wife out of here? I didn't do anything to anybody. I just told you want to come talk to me. You come talk to me. I'm not coming out there. So anyway, he's out of there. So now Lobeck is over there in the bar, and there's some guy mouthing off to Barry. You know how Barry gets, right? He's hammered. So this guy's talking shit about a Lobeck car. And Barry goes, hey, motherfucker, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about, blah, blah, blah. They go on. So this guy's going up to his room, and Barry goes to me, goes, hey, hold my fucking drink. Where are you going? He says, I'm going in the elevator. I'm going to kick the fuck out of that motherfucker. What? You're going to do what? He goes, yeah, elevator ride's going to be fun. I'll be back in a few minutes. He got in that elevator, whooped that guy, and came back down.
Damn.
Yeah, you're right. This
Dude,
summer, this summer's gonna be a wreck.
I've got a newfound respect because I always look Barry and Lobeck. I always felt like
We saw him in his later years.
we saw him in his later years, but his booth was always behind us, and I always felt like if I walked over to his booth, he was going to be over there playing canasta with a bunch of other like 75-year-old women. Nope. he just looked. He looked like my grandmother.
Yeah.
You know,
We went to go see him on his deathbed.
Yeah.
And
We went to go visit him.
Son goes, "How you doing, Barry?" What are you doing, Barry? He goes, "I'm dying. What's it fucking look like I'm doing?"
Exactly. That's what he said to me. You know, and I did that Lobeck wheel style in tribute to him. And I brought in there, man, he just got tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
You know, but
He was in bed.
yeah, he was
He
in
died
hospice.
the next day, but he was in bed
hospice.
eating chicken wings.
Yeah, I came, it was PRI. It was in Orlando at the time. I flew back. I called Gary Case and you. I said, let's go see Lobeck. I flew into Cleveland. You guys picked me up. And we went over there to see him. He was dead the next day or the day after. But,
damn.
you know, but these are guys that were, you know, trendsetters back in the day. You know, you could tell a Lobeck car too.
Oh, of course.
When you seen a Lobeck car, you see an Alloway car, you know, what you knew the stance or where that car was from, you know.
Sure.
And we've lost a lot of those guys, you know. And then the younger guys, I honestly don't know as many of them like I had the relationship with those guys.
Yep.
You know what I mean? When we came up. So, but I have a lot of respect for the builders that are out there today because they're building beautiful stuff, man.
Yeah, there's good,
Beautiful stuff.
some good dudes out there.
Yep.
They just need to start fighting more. You know.
Yeah, there ain't none of that. No.
Fucking
No,
shoot
it's
up in
this. It's
hotels
this. It's this.
Right, put your phone down. Start
Fuck
getting
you.
in the elevator.
No,
Start kicking.
no,
the
I'm
crap
not
out of
doing
some
it.
people.
Why did you copy my fucking
Yeah,
bracket?
you got a problem
What did
with
you
somebody,
do?
don't text and just clock the fucking shit out of
Take
them.
him for an elevator ride.
That's pretty badass.
It's really
Yeah.
badass.
It's like going to the train station.
Oh
It's a
yeah,
little bit different.
we had a lot of fun, man. Holy shit! But it was a different time, you know.
Yeah, we
And
need to
I
bring that
honestly,
back.
I miss it because me, Boris, you guys would be in Columbus, Mike Eden.
Yeah.
We'd be in that parking lot at 3, 4 in the morning
Oh,
still,
yeah.
man. And it's like a ghost town. They roll the carpet up at freaking 11 o'clock. They're gone.
It is. I've noticed that the past few
know?
years.
This year.
Yeah.
But let's
Burn that motherfucker
let's bring
down.
it fucking
Yeah,
back.
you need to.
Yeah.
I wanted to tell you guys, Gary Case told me that hotel's for sale.
Is it really?
Yeah, not bad either. $3 million.
Yeah, we should buy that motherfucker.
Damn.
Turn it
Yeah,
into
what are you going to do with it the other 363
Yeah,
days a
exactly.
year?
You got to
Can you
blow
store
it out
wheels?
for
Can
one
you store
week a
wheels
year.
in that motherfucker anywhere? Can we make a warehouse
Wheels and
out of it?
chassis. Dude, but it's funny at the end of the night. I mean, honestly, it's always like it's the fucking Paisan boys and you guys.
Yeah.
And we're
True.
usually
Yeah.
out there.
Shooting and
Yeah.
hollering.
And that is it.
Yeah.
Like that
You know?
is it.
We need to buy it just to fire. I know who the first person we're fucking firing. The one that fucking checked us in. Yeah, that motherfucker getting tossed.
What, how did that go down again?
It didn't go down great, and we'll probably keep it off the air. But that,
Yeah.
especially you, Mr. Gerber.
Yeah. Our badass stories involve checking into a hotel room.
Yeah, that's we have gotten into and almost gotten into way more fights just trying to check into a hotel. Always with staff.
Yeah. Are you guys doing the tour? Any of the tours this year?
We're gonna do something. I don't know what.
I know
What are
that
you doing?
Barrett's going to do a tour for Mike Eden.
Oh, are they really?
Really?
Yeah, Ed's going to put it together. So it's going to come from Mike's shop. And then, I don't know, it's going to probably end up in Florida or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd like to be a part of that. I
I
love
would
Mike.
too. Yeah, he was a good dude.
Good fucking
he
dude.
loved you guys.
Mike was great fucking dude,
Yeah, he
man.
was.
Yeah. Yeah, he was one of my best friends, man. Definitely. And there's an interesting story of how I met Mike Eden. I was in Carlisle with Chicane. And
Hershey.
or Hershey, yes, Hershey. And it was me and Jack Trepanier. Gary Case was there. You. So we had the Chicane out. So, of course, you know, Mike had come by and he was looking at it. I didn't know Mike Eden at all or Lonnie Gordon.
Yeah.
And so that's the first time I ever met these guys. So we go out to dinner, and it's Mike Eden is there, and Lonnie and Courtney. So after dinner, Mike's out there by a Chevelle wagon. It's a 2-door wagon, right? So I'm like, man, I'd like to come and go see if I can buy that car.
This is a 4-door wagon.
Is it a 4-door?
Yeah.
So anyway, I go over there. I said, hey, you want to sell this car? Is it for sale? He goes, no, this car's not for sale. And of course, I tell him, come on, man, everything's for sale, you know. He's like, no, this car ain't for sale. Well, he knew me, okay, but I didn't know him. So anyway, we bullshit a little bit. So the next day they're over at the car show, and he's coming around. He's looking at Chicane. He had his Nova there too at the time, and we just started talking about cars and different shit. And one thing led to another, and he started talking about manufacturing, and he's in the shop, and man, we just hit it off, you know. So we became really good friends from that point on. And if Mike Eden was alive today, Mike Eden would own the Chicane.
Yeah.
He would have bought
sure.
it.
Oh.
And he would always tell me, I can't afford it. And I said, Mike, you can afford it. I said, you can take that car right now, and you can take the next 5 years to pay me for that car if you want that car.
Yeah, and then
You
you
know.
pull the motor, put a big block in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking red interior in it.
Yeah.
Hey, I was busting Mike's balls forever about the last thing we were doing for him was that El Camino chassis. And I'm like, Mike, you're not putting a fucking big block in this thing. He's like, hell yeah, but I'm putting 540 in that thing. Like, what is the matter with you?
Exactly.
Like,
You love that
No.
number.
No, if I had the chance to do it over again, I put that big block in that 55 I built, right?
yeah.
Fuck, that thing would be out of there, and there'd be an LSX 454 or something in that thing. Not that, but you know what? That's what I wanted, a big block, because the era that I came out of.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know? And then Mike's like, you got to fucking put a big block in that car. Fuck that. You know, fuck that LS shit. You know? But, you know, after I drove a couple cars with some LSs in them, I was like, yeah, no.
Especially when you're going on those road trips.
Yeah. I mean, exactly. You know?
Because you're going to get
So-
in traffic. And
and
it's
I
going to
think-
be fucking hot as shit.
Yeah. And the other thing
Where's your
is,
garage floor afterwards?
Yes.
where you take these cars we're doing today, right, that you're building, if we go out there and put big block Chevys in them, we might as well be putting flatheads in them, because that's really how far back you're going back,
Yeah.
right, when you're looking at this. Anybody that's going to buy that 68 Camaro, 70 Chevelle, whatever it is you're doing, is going to be a generation even beyond you guys now younger, right? They don't know what a big block Chevy is. They have no freaking... There's not going to be anybody to even work on them when you think about it anymore, okay?
No.
It's going to be all fuel-injected stuff. So you're making a big mistake. If you're going to put an investment into these cars, unless it's a timeless, restored, classic muscle car, you need to put an LS in it, because the next guy that's going to buy it isn't going to buy it with the big block Chevy in it. He's going to want an LS with a Tremec or a 4L80 or whatever it is. He's going to want the drivability to pay for the car. So everything I own, guys, from now on, I guess it's got to get an LS or an LT.
And a roadster shop chassis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
absolutely.
just...
Yeah, I don't know if I can get one, though.
Boris got him fucking in stock.
The fucking czars got them all cornered,
The chassis are.
you know? Yeah, but you could.
Oh, dude,
I could bring it
damn.
up here. You could work on it, too, a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
so I
bring
can
it
get in
up.
line.
Take care of that. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I got to spread it around. I got to give you a shot, you know?
Yeah, give us one.
You got a car with a roadster
I
shop
guarantee
chassis.
I will give you one. I will give you one.
I'd love to do one for you, man.
Hey, you got a car with a roadster shop chassis.
Oh, yeah.
got one.
Hey,
Yeah,
hey,
the
this
one-
is the best Mike Eden story.
Oh, fuck.
I'll let you tell it.
Oh, man. Okay. 62 bubble top. We know where this is going.
Yeah.
It's upside down. Guys owes me a ton of money or a ton of work. But, you know, obviously he's going away, and I got to get my car out of there.
Sure.
So Mike Eden and Lonnie are going to get this car. So they go to get the car, and I'm sitting in my engineering room. Mike Eden calls me on the phone. He goes, "Hey," he goes, we got a fucking problem." I go, "What do you mean we got a problem?" He goes, "I mean, we got a fucking problem, Glenn." He says, this motherfucker says you owe him 13 grand. I said, "What?" I go, "Fuck you. Who says I owe him 13? His guy's here." He said, "This car ain't leaving unless we give him 13 grand. Man, I go from mild to wild in like a millisecond, man. You know, you've been in my shop. You could hear me in the back, okay? I go, "You tell that motherfucker I'm getting in a fucking car right now. I'm coming over there. Fuck that." So he's got me going, you know? And he's like, "I'm telling you, he ain't giving me the fucking car."
Yeah, he sent some 15-year-old kid over here to meet me.
Yeah, this guy's over here to meet me. "You ain't getting the fucking car." I go, "Oh, you're getting the fucking car." I go, "You just stay there. I'll get in the fucking car now, and I'll drive to fucking Pennsylvania." So anyway, he's got to go. So finally, all of a sudden, Lonnie can't take it no more. Lonnie's sitting in the passenger seat, and he just busts out laughing, right?
Forget you. The best part, we put something on the phone.
Oh, yeah. He puts them on the phone. Here, you talk to the fucking kid. And it's Lonnie, right?
No, it was Jake. Wasn't it Jake
no,
and Jake?
Lonnie.
Okay,
Jake
it was
did
Lonnie.
And
And
so,
he says, if you're so tough, how come you didn't come yourself and pick up the car?
yeah, or something like that, right? And I'm gone, man. Gone, right? And this is when I start, threatening the guy, and I'm coming out there and blah, blah, blah. So now Lonnie busts out laughing. Nobody has ever pulled a shot on me like that. Or he gutted me, okay? So it's been an ongoing story ever since, But, hey, I wish Mike Eden was still here because we'd have more of them.
Oh, yeah.
But I got even with Mike, but we can't talk about that story right now.
Well, that was in Columbus.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Mike.
Dude, that bubble top is kind of an iconic car because it came here before we ever met you.
You want it back?
Nah, it's like Phil said, it's got
Bad juju.
But it came here before we ever met you to have a chassis, and that was the first
Right.
Impala chassis that we did. Which also this
I didn't
ties
know
in.
it was yours.
Well, this ties into another story of my dad throwing shit away. Remember? We had a fucking scrap bin, and we had the X frame that came out of it, and he's like, what the fuck is this thing doing here?
That's where it went.
Yeah.
You were looking for it.
Right? Throws the motherfucker in the scrap bin, right? So it's sitting in the scrap bin. Also sitting in the scrap bin is a tremendous amount of water, right? Because it doesn't drain out of the scrap bin. Well, the guy who commissioned the installation of the chassis shows up and he's like, well, where's the old chassis that came out of it? We need that. So we're freaking because we're like, this is the guy that owns Billet Specialties. This is his
I didn't
car.
want it. I didn't ask for it.
Okay, but we're like freaking out. We're like, I didn't know you at the time. We're like, oh shit. And we're like, Dad threw the motherfucker away. Like, shit. It's in the fucking scrap bin, right? So we're chaining and hoisting this son of a bitch out of the scrap bin, dripping with water, right?
Well, he sold
I don't know where
made
it
some
went,
extra money.
right? But yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So yeah,
Mike got me on that deal. Big time.
That's funny. That's funny as shit.
Yeah. It
Like
was.
Mikey used to say, I don't think Phil likes me. I don't think he gets my sense of humor. I go, yes, he does. Believe me.
It takes a while to come around to it to find out if he's joking or just fucking with you.
He was in town for a tool and die show, something going on. And it happened to be my birthday that weekend. So he was in town, and we all went to dinner with my family, my sisters, brother-in-law, Junior. So we're sitting at the restaurant, and everybody's ordering food. My mom's there, and he says, hey, Ma, you want me to call you Mom or you want me to call you Grandma? She says, Mike, you can call me whatever you want. Okay. He said, well, I just figured, we got the family here. I want to make an announcement tonight, And he says, Junior, I don't know how you're going to take this shit. He says, but your old man adopted me. He said, I'm your big brother, right? And Junior goes to him, he goes, yeah? He says, well, I can tell you what, Mike, we're going to have 2 of every fucking thing. 2 of everything. There's nothing bad with that. He said, and he's going to pay for it all.
On that one tour that ended up in Key West, Mikey kept egging on Jesse. Every time we go somewhere, I think it started because we were stopping at Alloway's, and Jesse was gonna go do something else, and he goes, "Oh, you and Bobby didn't straighten out that thing that you had?" And Jesse's like, "What are you talking about? Is Bobby mad at me?" So everywhere we would go, he'd say, "Hey, we're getting into Florida?" He goes, "Did you call the governor and make sure it was okay for you guys straighten everything out?" So one day, Jesse had something on his Instagram, maybe talking about his dad, and I just wrote, "Hey Jesse, I'm glad you and your dad got everything straightened out." He called me up. He's like, "Dude, like everybody's calling me, thought me and my dad had a falling out."
shit.
Yeah, Mike had him. It was. I miss the guy.
Good dude.
Oh, yeah, he was.
We need to plan that road. We got to do that road trip this year.
Yeah.
that road tour.
It's
That'd be good.
supposedly going to be Barrett Jackson that's doing it. Ed's doing it. And, of course, he's got me signed up, for major sponsor to that event.
Yeah, you should. You should do that.
I'll do it for
Sounds like
Mike.
a great idea.
We're kind of sponsors because we've paid for the last 2 and then never showed up to actually go.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but I think Barry got all the spots and the shirts that ended up getting used.
yeah.
Well, guys, it's been awesome. We got to do a whiskey review first, and then we're going to wrap this up. This is Special Reserve.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if we've done it.
Yeah, people get upset that we miss the whiskey review section of the podcast.
I wish I could do it with you.
Try some real quick.
Long ride home.
Little taster.
Yeah, just a little taste.
We haven't done a review on this
Yeah,
yet.
I'll get pulled over.
No, I think we've drank it
He
several
just
times.
needs,
but
he
we
just
missed
needs to
it.
swallow. I think we've drank this, many times without a.
It's the one we always miss.
We get too drunk and forget about
We
it.
did. We drank it with greening with Jesse. Just speaking of Jesse, and we did not review it. And we drank it again at some point and did not review it.
Yeah, we did a Weller 12 there.
What did it hit?
We didn't review that either.
Yeah. That's an easy review. That's an 8-0 all day
That's what I
long.
was going with.
Fucking
You're,
solid.
The Special Reserves in 8-0?
Oh, yeah. All day long.
What do you got, Phil?
I was going to go the same number. If
Um,
you can ever find it, buy it as much as you can. Or if you're Josh, you buy it a case at a time.
well,
That's across
you
the
wouldn't
board.
want your wife doing what she has to do to get that case. So,
Got to do what you got to do.
yeah.
I
You can
appreciate you taking one for the team.
you can find it.
Maybe taking
some-
2 for the team.
Yeah, I don't know how many she's taking. I get a case. So I get 12. Yeah, you can find it.
Can you?
Ish. I mean, places
Yeah,
you
ish.
start looking for it. It's not the easiest thing, but it's not the hardest thing either. But yeah, 8-0 across the board. It's
Solid review.
absolutely. Thanks for listening to Oil and Whiskey with the Roadster Shop, an Ironclad original. If you like the show, be sure to leave a rating and a review. Check out our new Oil and Whiskey YouTube page. Thanks again to our guests Boris and Glenn, Billet Specialties, Street Machinery. Anything else they need to know? Where can they check you guys out? We already talked about streetmachinery.com, billetspecialties.com, at Billet Specialties on Instagram.
Glad to do it.
What what shows you going to be at next?
Well, we'll be in Columbus. Good guys. We'll be at NSRA. We'll be at the Triple Crown. Probably LS Fest in Bowling Green.
Triple Crown. Glenn sponsoring the kickoff party.
Yep.
Boris is everywhere.
Yeah.
Always.
So you're sponsoring the kickoff party, so we're going to do it old school. We're going to stay up till 4 a.m.
And
Yeah.
fight some
Yeah.
motherfuckers.
We're supplying the fucking liquor, food. We're
we're fucking
doing
doing it.
Hell yeah.
We're doing
Drinking,
it.
fighting.
My buddy Gary Case, he said you're going to step up. I said no fucking problem.
Let's do it. Now, Boris,
I feel like we didn't touch on Boris's.
street machinery.
Yeah.
Is that where you're going?
No, the whole new facility and
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got a story to tell you about that. I was supposed to get a lot of wheels in there, except there's too many Roadster Shop chassis stacked
Dude,
in there.
you
to
could put them on
get
top
4 of
of
them
them.
on each
Put 'em on
chassis.
top.
Yeah, it's
Don't-
just like a display.
Don't forget, we sell LS intake manifolds too. Those take up a lot of space. I think we
Yeah,
got
you
over
do.
1,000 of them in there.
You get a true
That's
track
true.
on the front of that. You get intake
Yeah, I sold them
manifolds,
a
some
bunch.
valve
I sh-
covers.
I did sell them a bunch of LS True Tracks that were.
You guys having a hard time getting engines?
Haven't needed
we've
one in
been
a
all right.
while.
We're not doing crazy volume, so we're doing all right.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a hard time there. I accidentally oversold. Thought I had more than I did. And promised engines to a bunch of different people. I was in a tight spot for a while. Thought I was going to. But I managed to find a few.
You've shifted the business model a little bit, haven't you? On what you were doing versus the new direction.
More products and less projects.
And Facebook, street machinery. Is that just street machinery?
Oh,
Marketplace.
Sunday Swaporama.
yeah, Sunday
You've gotta be
Swaporama,
accept-
that's our group.
You've got to be accepted to it, right?
I think Facebook has changed the way that they do it. I think anybody can be on it
Okay.
now, but
Well, if you don't follow that,
we kick people off of there all the time.
yeah, then you aren't a car enthusiast.
Right.
And if
I
you
think
want
you've
to
taken
purchase
over
something,
eBay, basically.
right?
Yeah, well, it's when it first started, we were getting the cream of the crop, and we were really getting good stuff. I was buying a lot off of there, but anymore it's just your typical because there's so many groups. People just they flooded all over the place. But back in the day, man, I was getting I'd have to approve every ad. So, you know, the $40,000 58 Impala convertibles, the, you know, 62
They
bubble
never
tops.
wound up being for sale.
No, it was
Right, exactly.
I remember when I first started, a guy posted it, and he had one digit transposed on his phone number, or it was like missing a digit. I tried every combination. Hey, your phone number doesn't have the full number in it, and then I looked up the area code, and that was a legit area code. So I'm like, well, maybe you just forgot the last digit. So I'd call every number and add a 1 to it, 3, 4, 5. Couldn't get a hold of. Finally, he reached out to me. I said, hey, I'll take that car. So yeah, we definitely got some good stuff off of there over the years.
Yeah, you better get on Facebook, Street Machine Swaparama.
Check it out.
If you are not following that, just not a car enthusiast.
Probably a loser.
You guys bought some stuff off of there, haven't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've bought plenty. That's
3 cars, I think.
Gavin in Florida said you bought a Malibu or something.
Yeah.
even right down the street from here. What's the dude's name? And he's like on the
Oh,
north.
yeah. I didn't sell him that truck though.
It had your fucking sticker in the back.
Yeah. I had the truck, but I didn't
Yeah.
sell it to him.
I still have it. It's sitting in my.
Yeah, we got that one. We bought the red 74.
We probably
square
have a half
body.
dozen a year.
Gold Chevelle is what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, the gold
Gavin.
Chevelle's sick.
Yeah.
We stole that one. Gavin fucked up on that one. That's it.
I
That was the
don't
deal.
think he did.
He sure did. That's it. That is a badass car.
I remember that car.
We just got to find the customer to build it for.
Yeah.
They'll come around.
We got a 61 flat roof Impala.
I got the twin.
I can't give the fucking car
I'll take
away.
it.
Really?
You can give it to me.
No,
Why
we
doesn't
want to
anybody
build
want
it
that thing?
so
It's the
bad. We've pitched it to
sickest
every
car.
customer. It's like the coolest thing. Original paint ish, some spotted in here and there, black with like a gray interior. The one you went and looked at,
Yeah.
in
Yeah,
Georgia,
great.
way
Black
back in
and
the
white
day.
Impala trim.
I have the
Forever
twin to
ago.
that with the red interior with
Yeah.
18,000 miles.
If you want to be cool,
Yeah, everyone's like, "Oh no, I want the bubble top version." Like, this is
No, way
cooler.
better. Way better.
yeah, everybody wants the bubble top. You want to be cool? Get the
Glenn's,
flat roof.
Glenn's got one. Well, his is an Impala. His is a Biscayne, but
I
it's
had 2 of them.
badass.
I sold that other blue one I
He,
had.
tr-
That was
he
real
tried
nice.
to sell it back to me today, and I said okay. And I realized
Needs
he
an
was
LS,
fuck-
guys.
He was fucking with me.
It's got a fucking 6
He goes, "You want to buy that for 30 grand?" I'm like,
That goes against my
We need to
grain.
put a chassis in an LS.
Yeah, it doesn't need paint or nothing. It's a nice car, man.
Come see me Monday. I'll get you a chassis.
Hell yeah, man.
All
Been
right,
awesome, guys.
Appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, and thanks for
Thanks,
everything you
guys.
guys
Yeah.
do for us too.
We appreciate it, man.
You.
Thanks, fellas.
We'll see you again next week.